Everybody call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
I believe I the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I get a motion to approve the agenda? Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? I was there for the frequently, First of all, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for being here today. Also want to thank John Vile and his team for putting this budget process together. I want to thank all the department heads for all the work that they've done in contributing to this budget process. I'd like to thank Doug Parks and his team on the BNF committee for go ahead and working through this budget and how it's been presented to us. So once again, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. And I know that on behalf of the board, we do appreciate that as well. We'll go ahead and make public comments at this point in time. And with this being a special meeting of the board, comments are related to the agenda specifically. Items in this meeting are allowed. Comments on other topics will be brought up at the next regular meeting on January 20th. So at this point, we have public comments. Please. Go ahead, Amy.
I'm the only one here.
All right, go ahead.
Due to time constraints, I will limit my comments to the aquatics department. I am requesting that if the snack bar is reopened at the Swim and Racket Club, the snack bar would have its own department number and a cost center that includes capital purchases, expenses, and labor. As I previously addressed in an email, I believe capital purchases needed for the snack bar, which do not appear to be in the budget, include a new refrigerator that's missing, a new freezer that's broken, a new hot dog warmer that's missing, a new hot water heater that's broken, and plumbing repairs to the sink. I am also requesting that operators hold a food service certification previously held by past employees. The email I received from the info stated that if the snack bar were to be reopened, outside food would not be allowed in. Please be advised that in the past, when the snack bar was open, outside food was always allowed. Not allowing outside food would hurt membership revenue, as families would not be able to afford a day at the pool. I believe the snack bar, although it might be convenient, has always been a money loser. Regarding past revenue numbers, when the snack bar was open, let's look at 2018. Food sales total at all pools were $16,050, minus the cost of food at all pools, which was $8,063. This leaves $7,427 profit minus the cost at labor. At $15 an hour, you're maybe breaking even. This is in contrast to what happened in recent years when the pools simplified and only sold drinks and ice cream. And in 2022, that made a profit of $12,588 with no additional labor cost or capital purchases, as the front desk pool attendants handled sales. As I also previously wrote the info line, it was reported that lifeguards would be paid $15 and CPOs $16. I believe this is insufficient, as this is exactly what was offered last year for these jobs, and minimum wage has now gone up to $15 an hour. Lifeguards certainly should be making more than the front desk attendants. We have a headline saying Ocean Pines is flush with money. Let's pay the lifeguard more than minimum wage. The aquatics department budget should reflect this. So everything I'm saying does cost money, so I do hope that the board will raise membership costs for aquatics and not expect property owners to subsidize. Costs are being increased at all other amenities, including those making profits, such as beach club parking and golf. Now, one other thing I noticed was that credit card costs at the aquatics department are up to almost $20,000. Please, let's consider putting a limit on credit card purchases. Using a credit card to purchase ice cream, and it happens every day at a pool, actually costs OPA money. It makes sense to put at least a $10 limit on credit card purchases. Otherwise we're losing money there. So one other quick point was about golf. If there is an amenity that should not be raised, I am asking that you consider not raising golf memberships. Golf members will be the most inconvenienced membership because of the irrigation replacement project in the off-season. As you know, many golf members play a lot in the off-season. Expecting those members to pay more when revenue can be raised through dynamic pricing of outside players does not help golf membership, and it does those golf supporters a disservice. Thank you.
Danny. Any other public comments?
Yes,
At this time,
this is
I'm sorry.
Don Walski calling. Don Walski,
okay, Don, your address?
1708 South Chase Street.
Go ahead, Don.
So I've been a resident of Ocean Pines for the past 7 years. I'm calling about the proposed increase of 15% for the marina slip holders. So for first 2 years, I was on the wait list, and then I got in. So I've been a customer at the marina for the past 4 years. First year, I think we experienced a 4% increase in fees. That was followed by another 4% increase in fees, taking us to, I think, $2,025. The following year, there was no increase. And then last year's fee was still, $2,025. So there's a 15% increase proposed. And I tried to inquire as to, where did that come from? And some of you have received an email or two from me regarding that situation. And I finally got a hold of Ron Fisher yesterday, and Ron had told me that we're trying to be competitive with other marinas in the area. The other marinas that I believe he compared us to were the Ocean City Fishing Center and Bahia Marina, both Ocean City facilities. And of course, if you're familiar with the OC Fishing Center, they're large fishing boats. I'm not sure where the slips are over at Bahia, but I find that to be not a very good comparison. We should be looking at other residential marinas, like at River Run, maybe at Captain's Cove. I'm not sure what else is in the area that's really comparable to us. A 15% increase to me is, crazy. I further asked, Ron further explained that, there's insurance increases in cost, labor has gone up, and I'm not seeing where that really applies to the marina, because there's 100 slips there. What services do we get? We get electric, we get water. The dock's been painted last year. We got new numbers there, but I don't see what else we're going to be getting for another $330 what it amounts to. So I'm voicing my concern. I understand that there are inflationary costs associated with those things as well as labor, but the extra $30,000 that'd be generated by this increase, I'm not sure what we're getting for it. So I understand that there should be some increase. If there's another 4% per year, that's understandable, but 15% is higher than any other amenity proposed increase this year. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Any other public comments? I'm going to go ahead and close the floor on public comments for this morning. So next up is the general manager's budget presentation. John.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, everybody. So everybody can hear us, right? This room?
Yes.
So yeah, I've assembled the team. The team is here. We do have some medical situations. Some people are online, but we have everything covered. It'll be the same drill as it was with budget and finance. We'll go through everything. We'll answer any questions, of course. We'll have the department heads available. But this budget, I just want to say it's bottoms up. Everything per our scrolls, our governing documents. We did focus on, as I've mentioned before, and I know it's been captured in all the papers, and I'm very happy to see. We also focused on the balance sheet, which we should do, as well as looking ahead for the next several years as far as replacement, a DMA study, which we all know is required. We are setting that up. So a lot of things covered. You all have the numbers, and now we'll go through the detail, and we'll certainly answer everybody's questions. So with that, we'll start off with Steve Phillips, General Administration. And that's tab 2. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, Steve.
Okay, general administration. That's where our general revenues go. We have the $850 assessment. And then see the transfers out, 3.479. We'll get into that later. But the revenues that we went through in the BNF meeting, I think everybody's familiar with. We have 6.770 million in revenues after the transfers. That's compared to 6.512 million in 2024 budget. On the expenditure side, we have $888,000. That's up from 749,000. Driver there is the increase in the insurance specifically. That's about $50,000. We also have a payroll 1% pull in there as well. Bottom line within admin is $5.882 million.
Okay. Good. Okay. Any questions?
Guys, any
Yeah.
questions? Go ahead.
Hey,
No,
question. Steve, just as a reminder, the EDU fees were the dollars that we collect for the new community or twin or triple estates or whatever it's called. And we receive them after the property closes. Is that correct?
Let me do it. Is it okay if I jump in, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so the first question is, Steve, where is the EDU revenue? Do we put it in
Yes,
which
it's a
department?
separate line. It's in admin. It's in 40010. We budgeted for
No, I see.
Okay,
I was
so
just asking about where
it's in there, but the second thing is, when do we collect the EDUs? We collect the EDUs upon
Building permit.
the building permit process.
Gotcha. And
Which is
that is, and I believe there was 60 or some units are totally going to be built up there. So this money will not be in perpetuity, right? We'll collect those dollars once all those properties are complete. Well, then I guess they would move over to assessment. Is that fair?
So it's almost close. So obviously all 60 will not be closing. So, we came up with a number. As far as the assessment starts when they buy the lot. So upon buying the lot, the assessment starts, and then upon the building permit, we collect the EDU, the one
Gotcha.
time, to us.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Not a
Thank
question.
you, Steve.
The money is in this department.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Any other
Okay,
questions?
John, we're good. We're good on that. We'll
Okay,
go to
good.
the finance, the next area, the membership, IT.
Yep, so that's me too.
This is Steve. We're working this morning.
Yeah, so we had, as I mentioned, I guess mostly payroll costs, so it is myself, we have our accounting manager, Mark, who's in the room with us here. We obviously have Ruth Ann, who runs the membership office and the front desk here at the admin. We have the HR payroll, accounts payable, and then we have our IT folks, Keith and Howard, supporting the association. Then we have a new accountants that finally got filled for the 50 for the last piece of the payroll costs there. So the other piece that's primarily made up in here is contract services. But like I said, $875,000 in total payroll. That's up from $823,000. So that reflects pretty much the 4% that we have in there. From a bottom line standpoint, we're up roughly $50,000 versus last year's budget.
Questions?
I'm just wondering what the FTE numbers are. I believe it's flat, but are they pretty much the same for when you're together?
But she asked FTEs. I'm sorry, Wayne, was that FTEs?
Yeah, your FTE is your full-time equivalency, your staff. Is it flat
Yes.
or it increases?
You have the schedule, right? Yeah, so Steve has the schedule. Let's just an overview first, and Steve can go through the detail. As far as FTEs, we have not increased anything, nor would we ever, without going to the board. There may be some based upon hours on seasonal or whatever that might have showed up and gave us a little extra. And Steve, what was the number? It was like, yeah, Steve, I can't read it. But when we did it, it did come up to a little bit in FTEs.
Yeah, so we're actually down 4 in terms of full times. So I mentioned that obviously the benefits are attributed with that. So we're up a little bit, and on the seasonal side, net it came out pretty flush.
Right.
But total cost is actually down because of the full times coming down.
Right. But you do see something, I just make sure I'm being clear on it, Steve, is on the seasonal, when you do hourlies or whatever, it just calculated mechanically a couple more hours than normal. So it showed up as, fractions on the FTEs, but the overall full-time, the regular full-time employees, there was not.
Thank you.
And it also
And then a question on the other payroll costs, that there's nothing proposed. That was, I think I heard last week, was there are some adjustments or reallocations of the expenses. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, this is the first year that we had the visibility to the different account types that we set up in there. Breaks down HRA or insurance premiums, workers' comp, gives us ability to be able to monitor expenses a little more closely. In previous years, we budgeted in other payroll costs. So that's why you see year-to-date numbers reflective in those new detailed accounts. However, from an estimate perspective, Mark, help me out here, but we were saying to not necessarily pay as close attention to the detailed accounts as to the bottom line of total payroll costs, and that'll work itself out at the end of this fiscal year. Next year, it's going to be nice and clean, but this year it takes a little bit of, I guess, just looking at the bottom line perspective.
So in summary on that, it's mechanics. It's, we approached it differently this year, and I totally agreed with the way they did, but we didn't go back and restate the prior year. But if you look at the totals, which is what Steve's saying and Mark's saying, you get the true picture.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, on the wages and benefits, am I correct that the breakout, like for general manager's office, applies to the general manager's office? In other words, the breakout is broken down by department as it appears in this book. There's no total for the wages and benefits section. Is that accurate?
Correct. So each department is allocated their salaries and their benefits, correct?
Right, and well, I understand that the same is true overall for FTEs. You would break it out that way as well under wages and benefits, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now, there has been situations where I may reclassify somebody during the year from one department, or reallocate or repurpose somebody because I have efficiencies, but we talk about that in board updates. But everything you said is correct.
Right.
Any other questions? Next, we'll go to public relations marketing. Josh?
Okay, I'm actually presenting on behalf of Josh.
What time are we on?
5.
5.
I'm sorry, what happened with the, what happened?
Tab
No, no.
5.
Tab 5?
Okay, Linda.
Okay, revenues are down a little from last year, 65,691. Expenses as well is down from budgeted last year, 162,356. Services and supplies are up a little, 86,793. Total utilities, as in other departments, are up 8,300. Other costs are actually down for 86,221, leaving a net operating of 277,979.
So if I could jump in, Linda, before they ask some questions, and I just want to add something that doesn't show up in the numbers. That department, and like other departments, or most departments, they have taken on more responsibility, have worked with initiatives, and credit to them, research and whatever. So those are all factors that show efficiencies. The numbers have been down, and that's a compliment to that department as well as others, but that just doesn't show up in the numbers.
I just have one question on.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Elaine, you're up.
Yeah. I noticed just the one area where there was a jump was promotion, and as I recall in the last meeting, it was based on some additional wedding and event promotion. And I guess my question on that is because the overall marketing, is within the PR department. But if this was something, I'm thinking specifically asked by Matt Ward to do some sort of a new program to help increase banquet sales, which is a terrific thing to do, then that probably should go into the yacht club expense area rather than PR. But if it was a PR thing to test something out, then that wouldn't be necessary.
Elaine, you're right, and we don't charge it. I have discussed that with the team. We definitely are looking at that to get that kind of feedback from the board. Definitely helps me on that. But right, we have done a lot. They've asked for banquet, and rightfully so, banquet advertising. When we first did this in the very beginning, they told me they didn't need any. So, duly noted.
And most of that increase, Elaine, is the fee increase for the wedding wire and the knot online service that they favor, that they say gets most of their leads from. That just keeps going up and up. So that's a factor there. It's just the cost of doing business with that company that produces the most returns for them.
But that should be allocated.
Is
that what you're saying, Elaine, that kind of stuff should be allocated?
I think that when there's general advertising, and I know, many of the publications and things that you do are under contract to help get reduced rates. And that PR will make those determinations as to what's seasonal, what's needed, or just how do we fill space in that publication this month because we're required to put in some sort of advertising. But, I'm just thinking in the case of Matt, when there's a specific request that ties into increasing revenue within that area, that probably should just be addressed to the expense of that should be addressed to his department.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Steve?
Yeah, Linda or John, my assumption is that as it applies to this, what do we call it, OP Day that's coming up in March or April or May, I'm not even sure when it's coming up anymore, but most of the expense will be in the public relations area. There might be other expenses as well. I'm just curious as to whether this budget includes any particular estimate for the cost, or do we have an estimate as to the cost? I mean, we're sort of running up pretty quickly. I mean, we're in January now and we've not heard much one way or the other. I'm just trying to figure out how this gets budgeted.
Don,
Okay.
you want me to take that?
No, I'm sorry. Who's that?
Monica might be able to answer more on that side.
I was gonna say, do you want me to take a stab first?
So who's that?
Monica.
Oh, Monica. Oh, yeah, Monica. Absolutely. I'm sorry. Yes.
That's okay. So, I will present bring this to a motion to vote on it formally, and I will have the pro forma in there. And you're right, most of the costs, are going to be through public relations for advertising, that type of thing, but we think it'll be a minimal amount. Also, we have locked in sponsors. Yeah, we've locked in sponsors. There were 4 locked in already. And I have an update. I saw an email come in when I was leaving, so I'll put that all part of the agenda item for our meeting.
in January or?
Yes, January. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So kind of a mini P and L, I guess, for that event.
So you're looking at it to be a zero-sum event then,
Exactly. We're really,
so it's not gonna actually hit the budget.
there could be some overtime costs, but minimal
Okay.
overtime
All right.
costs.
But John, we talked about that piece as far as, the cost that will be associated with this event.
Yeah, so just a couple things. First of all, thank you, Monica, and yet, you know, I appreciate the support and everything you've given us with this. Certainly doing it the right way. Rick, Monica, and I gotta be honest with you, we heard different things. When they first did this, I asked them to move it to the next fiscal year because of the situation I had with the police. With that said, with the new police chief, in the meetings we've had, I'm being told in here that they're looking now for April 20th. If it is April 20th, it would fall within the current year, this budget that we're in now. But Monica's right. I'm being told it basically would be zero, that they're going to develop or capture some type of revenue. But there is overtime, there is public works, there will be police, there will be public relations. I get that. That's kind of built in. We'll work with that. We'll cover that within the budget. But I'm being told it shouldn't be a lot, but we have experience with other types of events like this. So there will be a cost across those 3 or 4 departments. It will be handled within this budget based on what I'm hearing, that it would not be a lot of money. But it looks like it'll be this budget if it is April 20th. I just need a confirmation on the date. Either way, I got it covered.
April 21st, I think it was. But I'll put that in the presentation at the board meeting. Also, we blocked in 3, possibly 4, but 3 already food trucks, and they're gonna pay us up front $300 for each of them to bring their food trucks in. And I think there's a 4th one wants to sign on. So between the hospitals, some contractors, realtors, those things. They're all gonna pay a minimal amount to have a table. None of the amenities will pay anything, or like the nonprofits.
Right.
You know, so they won't pay anything at all, but it's more like outside.
Need a book, quality.
Exactly, so.
Thank you.
Elaine,
I think I recall, and I could be wrong, that when they made the first request, it was around 15,000 with like their top cap on, something like that. And I know it was kind of
Yeah,
pulled out of the sky. That was
it was, right,
But
that,
at least just to give
but
you.
now with the information and
Yeah.
the way the thing will go, no live music and things like that, you know, it's kind of
What
like.
they say about it? Well, okay, I'll.
Yeah, that's
Okay, that's not budget related, so.
Okay,
any other questions regarding the budget as far as for, public relations and marketing? Our next up, we'll do General Manager's Office, CPI. Linda, you're up again.
Yeah, okay. For general manager's office, wages and benefits are up. This is, as John mentioned, a reallocation. More of my salary is now in general manager's office compared to CPI. We haven't reallocated the other, positions as the other position in general manager's office as well, moved that to CPI. More services and supplies are up to 88,450. Utilities, as in other departments, is up 11,400. Total other costs are down 3,234, leaving a net operating of 385,232.
Tab 3.
That was the general manager's office.
Sorry, I don't have my binder with me.
I saw all the flipping of pages, sorry.
Can we start all over with that?
I do have just one question.
Go, Elaine.
I know, like, on the income, probably the largest thing is resale certificates. And of course, you know, it's been a strange real estate market the last couple of years. And I'm assuming that that's where that comes from is, and it looks like it was based on about 300 certificates. Does that correlate to settlements within Ocean Pines? Is that what that's for?
Well, this is the general manager's budget. We haven't got to CPI yet.
We ain't got there yet.
Oh, I thought we were.
We're on tab
CPI.
3.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
What that?
I will dial back here.
No. Any other questions on CPI and general manager's office?
No, I still have to do CPI.
Oh, I'm sorry. CPI, yeah.
They have three.
Just had three.
Right.
Oh, this is just real.
Right.
Tab 6.
Okay. It's public relation, focus. Any other questions? We good?
And pretty self-explanatory.
All right. So we're gonna do public works next.
Well, we would need one to do next.
Okay, so are we on public works, bulkhead?
No, we're on CPI.
CPI.
We're on
Tab 6.
CPI.
Six.
All right,
Six.
tab 6.
Tab 6.
All right. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, total revenues are down. As Elaine mentioned, resales, we had a good strong in COVID time, but now that they've been dwindling the last couple years, so we have pushed that back. We are upping a little the actual fees, but still we're seeing the building permits are slowing down as well as with resales. Expenses are up to 243,221. We are adding more in payroll as far as an inspector, part-time, and reallocating position. Services supplies are up to 37,550. Repairs and maintenance are staying steady at 200. Utilities are up as in other departments to 8,607, leaving a net operating 146,681.
Hey, Linda, have we hired the new staff for CPI?
What we have is that we have reallocated a position, and we also have a part-time position we have not hired for yet.
And that also includes some of your time, correct, Linda?
Yes, it does include some of my time. The payroll does still have some of my time in there.
Okay.
And so that would mean that we're gonna go from 2 to 3 inspectors?
Yes,
is to
yes,
my understanding,
yes,
and then have a full-time assistance in the processing of the paperwork versus the half-time. that it
That's
was.
what we're trying to do, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
John, a question, in all cases for utilities, they're all allocated numbers, is that fair? Okay. I see the yes.
You're
I didn't hear
mute,
you.
John.
Can't hear.
John, you're muted.
Can't hear.
No,
Can't hear, John.
Yes, so Steve has some type of
There we go.
allocates utilities, but Steve does it, county does it, yes. It's allocated.
Perfect, okay. I assumed, I just wanted to confirm.
Yep.
Any other questions on CPI? Yeah.
I got nothing.
All right, John, we're gonna go ahead and do public works, bulkheads and
Yeah.
marina.
Yes, I'm actually gonna be doing public works. The
Doing it all.
director cannot speak, so he texted me and asked me if I could speak. So I'm gonna be doing the whole general maintenance, public works, bulkheads, and marina.
Linda, Ron's here. Ron will do the,
Okay, he'll do the marina. Okay, good. Thank you, Ron. There's Eddie.
and I think Noby's on his way up here. He told me this morning he would be here. Eddie, is that correct? Noby's gonna be here?
He's
For the
coming.
boat, yeah. So Linda, you'll help out Eddie. Nobody's pulling up as we speak. Ron's already here. They'll do the bulkheads and the other stuff.
Okay, not a
Thank
problem.
you, Linda.
Okay, total wages and benefits are actually down to 436,892. Services supplies are slightly up to 39,950. Repairs and maintenance are up to 212,000. Utilities are a little slightly down to 13,400, and total other costs are up to 8,188, leaving net operating at 710,340.
As far as for public works, are we fully staffed in public works at this point?
Actually, Rick, good question. I actually was just gonna say that, and that's why the number is higher than the forecast for this year. Yes, we might be open one spot or whatever, where we had it filled and then something happened, but yes, we're fully filled all the positions.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Good, Lane.
Yeah, just on the refuse removal, it looks like the estimate is what is down for this year, because the other years it's like, even though it shows an increase of almost 12,000, it's more consistent with prior years than the estimate for this year. And I don't know if we just, there's some reason that we're just coming in under typical refuse removal. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think the budget for
Are you at,
next year.
are you at 86, are you at 86,260 line?
So let me help, and I understand there is a difference there. It's, it is costing us more for refuse removal. Again, we did look at this, but I see that he's nodding. We had discussions on it. It is costing more like anything else with refuse, for the removal. Inflation.
Yeah, I guess what you did, I guess the reason for my question is that the estimate for this year is down. And I would assume, the costs are going up. Trending prior, it was close to 70,000, in the 60s.
That's higher than the forecast.
And we're under about $4,000, which we would go, and I guess my more concern is that, are we putting in enough for next year? Because is that 53,923 correct?
So, and again, we're estimating on the forecast. If we were to evaluate right now, which I will do based upon the question, I would say that the forecast might be a little light, but we think that your budget is good. Eddie, just nod if you agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might be a little light.
I wanted to make sure we weren't shorting that for next year.
Yeah. Again, there are increases. We are doing more, I'll use the term tonnage or whatever, which is a good thing with the leaves and all that stuff.
John, I have a quick question. When we sub out for some drainage work, or where's that at? Is that included in the drainage maintenance, repair, and public works?
I got
It's not divided up as to what you subbed out?
Yeah, so there's two pieces. This is good.
Yeah, but it's
So
not there.
this is good because they are big numbers. So there's two pieces. When we do maintenance of ditches and anything like that, and certain pipes between houses or whatever, that goes into the public works and the general maintenance areas. The major pipes that I've been talking about the last 4 years, we have a reserve set up for them. And those specifically when, what's the name of that company? What's the name of the company?
Pelican Underground.
Pelican. I kept having Dolphin in my head. So when Pelican comes in, and we've been averaging about 200,000, 250 with them a year, doing all major linings, all major pipes, which we have seen fantastic results with. That goes to the reserve account. That would not be charged to this department. So two places for the drainage.
I'm going to talk to, any other questions on Public Works? I'm going to talk about bulkheads and marina.
Okay. What tab is bulkheads?
9.
Okay, Linda, I have Nobi in the room. Let me just summarize, say a couple things, and then if there are any questions, we have Nobi here, who is the expert in this, and he has, with Eddie and everybody else, really delivered a lot of good results. So the proposed budget comes into about $1,177,000. Again, what we do is we're looking at approximately 2,100 linear feet. That's what we've been doing a year. It's been successful. If you take the overall bulkhead of approximately 90,000 linear feet, and you look at the results that we're being told on the vinyl and other material, we're hoping to get 45, 50 years. So we're in a ballpark, 2,000 linear feet, 2,100 plus some emergency work. We have kept the cost down. The board has approved proposals we've gone forward with getting contracts approved up front so that they can get the material. And we are storing them in our public works yard, and it has saved a lot of cost. Obviously, the assessment for the bulkheads has stayed the same the last several years. So that's where we are on that. The wages and benefits, there are allocation of certain salaries that go to that. Nobi is one, a couple people on his landscaping team. And then obviously the other items that are on there. So this is consistent with every other year. That's pretty much where we're at. It's $1,177,000. That's it. We do schedule it. So that one thing, let me just add an apology on my end. Let me just add this. We do, and the other thing with the 2,100 or 2,000 linear feet is when we bite off more and we go into the 3,000 linear feet or whatever, we've had some challenges with getting done by Memorial Day. This has worked out well.
Hey, John, a question. I know we have a strategic plan that we kind of follow for the bulkheads and these and dredging and whatnot. But do we get a lot of kind of work, surprise? I'll call it surprise work, but unplanned work that we have to kind of reconfigure. Does that happen a lot, or?
So, this is a good question. We actually had this the last 2 years, but here's what's happened. You're right. There is a strategic plan. It is updated yearly, or if we ever feel necessary to do it. But here's what's happened. You're right. We've had emergency work, but because everything is strategically planned and reviewed and dated, and a letter given to it as how good or how bad that bulkhead is, the ones that we usually have these emergencies on were scheduled to be done the next year.
Correct.
And I got no big going like that. So that's what's happened the last 2 years. So then that's just a timing thing.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And
Okay,
we
thank you.
are trying to keep some type of balance in the bulkhead account for emergencies, so that we have it covered. But yeah, so far so good. No, good question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, John, check out this too, this last page in the binder. So that talks about maintenance and dredging. So they work that out too. Just remember that.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
John, I have a question real quick. Is there a schedule of what's coming up?
It's in this
Like,
strategic. So yeah, for the bulkheads, there is, we have it, I believe I put it in when we did the bulkheads, but we have it. Linda, do you know, or Josh, do we have it on the website? If not,
We
we'll
don't
put
have it on the website. I can get it posted on the website though. I think he has provided a 5-year plan, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll go ahead and try to post that on the website today.
Right, so part of the
Thank you.
strategic plan book, you have the 5-year plan, but we have presented anytime we asked for it, we'll have it on the website.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yep.
Any other
Josh,
questions on the
also
bulkhead?
communications.
Let's go with the Marina.
Marina?
Tab 21.
Okay, so with the Marina, we do, Ron Fisher is here. Ron is our harbor master. Quite honestly, has a lot of experience. He's promised me that he'll be here as long as I'm here. Hopefully so. So Ron's here. Ron's going to present the Marina. Ron, you want to come over here? They want to see you. Ron, if I would focus on the pricing, there were pricing increases proposed. Ron will go through the pricing increases. Everything we do is benchmarked. So I have asked Ron to focus in on the pricing piece of it.
Well, first of all, if you look at our operating costs, there's been a substantial increase in operating costs, particularly in salaries, contracted services, credit cards, fees have gone up substantially, and insurance costs have gone up substantially. I did a survey of our competing marinas and found that we're substantially below those marinas in terms of our slip fees. And so I'm recommending a 15% increase.
What is contributed in the cost of the insurance increase over previously?
I don't know, Steve probably can answer that better than me.
Yeah, I mean, insurance is just going up in general. I mean, there's a reallocation of various coverages that affect the marina, which pollution. Obviously, they have different property down there. The T-docks now has been added on, so there's a few factors that go in there.
Now, even with the proposed increase that I'm recommending, we still have a $40 a foot difference in support of our membership or our homeowners. So they're still getting a break.
Let me just jump in too, as I look, I'm gonna go down to the bottom number, the number that is important, the operating number. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I have, well, pretty much everybody looking at the prior budget as well as the forecast for this year and what we're learning. Ron has reported he probably had the most small craft advisories this year, which we all know, and you heard me update every month. But if you look at the budget, he's still bringing forth, and we are bringing forth the budget consistent with a year and not necessarily the forecast where we had probably every week of the key season with rain. We will budget towards that. We're certainly not going to budget for worst case scenario, just like we don't budget for an extreme either way. But I just want to point that out. That's a credit to the team.
That was, I think, the one thing that I noticed, that, I do recognize that a 15% jump to some, especially when, we're operating pretty efficiently is a big jump. But then when you look at that bottom net operating over the years, we're actually getting a lesser return even with that 15% bump because the costs have risen. And so it's really more reflective of that than the fact that we could do it. It's really, you have to make sure that you're covering the additional costs in the number.
Hold on. Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so, and Ron, what you jump in, but Elaine is spot on. We have to decide, where we're at, how to budget, right? We have to look at what we want to be. We're an amenity. So to me, that means our prices, I would hope, and we plan and we budget for lower than everybody else around us. But we have, just like everybody else, we have increasing costs. So I've said this before, it's kind of a balance where we should address those costs. We should look at the amenity pricing. We still should keep it that it's an amenity and it's probably the best deal around. And he's done that. We have done that pretty much across the board, where we try to stay below the competition. And it's all about customer service. And I got to tell you, the teams, this is what we focus on. So that's pretty much in a summary. We try to cover the costs. We try to make it amenity pricing. And I believe everything we've brought forth here is amenity pricing and a good deal. Right, Ron?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Stu.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I think this is more aimed towards Steve. Listen, I run a business. My practice, I've been around 32 years. I was getting clobbered with credit card fees. And then I found a better deal. I'll just be straight with you, with Square, which cut my credit card fees in half. And it's only, you're looking at 41,000 in credit card fees over at the marina. But I've, between the discount rate, the different fees that you get from a credit card processor, I got a real better deal with another company. Have you looked into that? I'm sorry to just go into the weeds on it, but it's 40 grand. If you can cut it by 20.
That's just for the marina.
That's just for the marina. But that could be, our entire Ocean Pines wide, I can't hear him.
You're muted.
It's muted. There's Linda. Linda hears us though.
Okay, so I did have it on mute. Give me some, let me, as I talk to control it, and look, and I'm fine with everybody going directly to the staff. When I was here in 2017, we made a change trying to save money on credit card fees. From what I remember, it didn't work out too well. You know, he does look at it. We're in the ballpark.
Yes, I mean, there's credit card processors that we always are looking at. It's always a fee plus interchange, and the fee is 100% in line with competition. It's the interchange that is based on the credit card itself. So you got different points that the customers use. So a lot of that's out of.
Right, so Steve is spot on. I hope you can hear Steve because it was an excellent answer. So one part is the fee part, which he says the percentages we pay are very competitive. But if I go in there with a platinum card, odds are the fee's going to be higher because I'm going to get better benefits from them. I see everybody in here is doing the bobblehead. So that's a factor that we really don't have control over, but could affect the amount of credit card fees. Now, and again, I'm going to go reference back to 2017. Certain things happened in 2017, and Steve came in, Steve was new. Steve, Mark, myself, and everybody else, we're looking at controls. We're looking at the best way, and we do try to minimize cash. Although I got to be honest with you, even in my personal life, when I go to restaurants now, and so does Steve, we bring cash to minimize that. So the only way to really minimize it, and Steve's doing the bobblehead, and we're in agreement on it. And first of all, it's an excellent question, is to try to take more cash. And that's why we have Mark and a team that's educated and controls. So we can try to go that route, especially if we get that as a recommendation, wherever we can. That's the best we can do there, though. Steve, agree?
Yeah, I just one more comment, then we can just move on. I get it with the Platinum card, with the American Express, you get hit with a higher percentage rate.
Right.
Not with the, Steve, check out Square, or John, have Steve check out Square.
Okay,
There's one fee. There's no difference in whether it's a Platinum card, American Express, or a Visa. It's the same 3% rate.
Yep, I see them writing it down. How do you sweat? SWEAR?
SQ Square.
Oh, Square.
Square.
Wait. Square. I think we had that in 2007. We will check it out.
I have no money in that company, by the way, little disclaimer. I just paid less in fees.
And I'm sure you did well with it. Yeah, Square, I know. Okay. All right.
We got one more question, Jeff. Sorry.
Thanks, Rick. I agree with Elaine. We should look at every way we can to cover any expense increases, and there's plenty of them to go around. And with Stuart, we ought to look at ways of reducing our operating costs. And we have foreshadowed where we want to be with slip fees. I just think that the 15% increase is pretty hefty in 1 year. If we really know where we want to be, we can get there, but 15% is huge.
And as far as for that recommended increase, that was based on the survey of how many different marinas out there in Ocean City and neighboring marinas?
There were two main marinas that we surveyed, and that was Bahia and Ocean City Fishing Center.
Hey, Ron, did we, I know Pines Point Marina is closest to us, and I know it's slightly different because there are own deeded slips there. Did we look around there? Because I actually have a boat around there and I know what it costs. Did we compare to Pines Point Marina?
Correct. No, because most of those are privately rented because they're owned and they're rented by the owners.
Do you get electric included there?
Water
and electric?
They just started on C&D dock. You're going to get assessed. They're installing meters,
Right.
so you'll pay that separately.
Our fee includes that.
Correct. But I would tend to agree with Jeff and Elaine on 15 points if one shot. But I understand we need to make diligent decisions for our community.
Steve, you got a question?
Yeah, and I start off by saying I know nothing about this subject, but I do have a couple of questions. Am I correct that there is no size distinction at the swim and racket marina? Is that correct? where there is at the yacht club.
By size, you mean the size of the slips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Under
Okay.
26,
Let's
over
go.
20.
It says the.
Yeah, we can take up to maybe a 20-foot boat, swimming racket.
They're all under 26.
Okay, and then, my understanding is that, we have a wait list, for people to make use of our marinas. Is that again accurate?
We have a wait list of 100 boats right now.
Okay. That raises a question in my mind. Has there ever been any discussion, I don't even know if this is possible, but I'm just curious, of providing more slips at either or both of the two marinas?
There was a proposal several years ago to increase the slips at Swim and Racket. And nobody probably knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, we had a proposal to maybe go in and reconfigure that and actually put a bigger marina in at Swim and Racket. But it's always kind of been a touchy subject with Swim and Racket.
Okay, so, I mean, it just seems that, I don't know what the cost would be, but over the long haul, that might be a way to increase revenue. If you had more slips, more people were paying. Now the cost may be prohibitive. But I'm just wondering, just how many hoops we'd have to jump through to get that done.
We would have to go through all, like, the state, the federal, everything. It's a process, but we definitely could look into it.
Okay. The only other thing I would point out is it appears that our slip fees, there was no increase in 2024. And the increases from 2021 through 2023 was sort of nominal. I mean, 4%, even almost not even chew up whatever the inflation rate would have been year to year to year. So those seem to be sort of flat. So I have less of a concern about the increase in this year's proposal, because for all intents and purposes, we haven't increased the slip fees at all over 3 or 4 years.
That's correct.
Right. That's one way of looking at it. But then now it's up to the board.
Last year I proposed 5% and that was turned down. And the 2 prior years I proposed 7. I think I was given 4%.
It's a board decision now.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hey, John, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break. Use the restroom and all that. So we'll be back in about 10 after 10.
Okay, yep, and I got the chief here.
We finished up, we did finish up with the marina, so thanks for that. Next up, John, you can hear us?
Yes.
Tab 11.
Okay, next up, Chief Robinson, police.
Okay, tab 11, as Dan said, chief's here. As you all know, chief, and he's hit the ground running, by the way, and he is buying a house in Ocean Pines. The GM is very excited. I'm just gonna go through some of the stuff with the chief, and he's gonna give me all the answers, everything he's doing. But again, when you go down to the operating profit line, and certainly at this phase of the analysis, I like to do it. But there's 3 components there of why there's differences between the last budget and the forecast. One, as you know, right now, we were short on staff, which is covered by the county and the state, and we appreciate that, as well as the chief coming in and making some adjustments. The other thing why there is an increase, there's 2 reasons. One, we mark to market the salaries throughout the ranks so that we would be competitive and caught up with everybody else. So obviously that was an increase in expenses there, as well as the pension equivalent approved by the board, recommended obviously by this office, and certainly helping to recruit. So with that said, the chief is going to talk to you about his budget, what he has put in. He has put in several enhancements, and I'll let him talk to you about it as far as your
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Chief.
Morning, Chief.
Can never remember that.
Okay, yeah. The biggest thing that we've done here is to enhance some operational activities. The funding we put in for Lexipol has been huge, and we're going to be continuing in with this next budget year, which is going to be an annual expense. With our new position with our property custodian, which is she has hit the ground running, redoing our property room, getting that all squared away, getting it to where that needs to be with a modern police department. We also, the biggest thing I have taken under consideration is to look at how we're compensating the officers and the civilian staff here to make us competitive in the marketplace. And with the support of the general manager's office and the board, I believe we're going to be doing just that in this fiscal year coming up, which is it's going to make us right in the ballpark with everybody else. So I think it's going to help with both recruitment and retention of our current officers. The biggest easy way to explain it is we're implementing a pay scale for the officers, so they can look at in the future in a few years as what they're going to potentially be making.
And one thing, let me add in, and the chief will jump in once I put this out there, and I missed it. The other thing on the income side for, obviously, there's pluses and minuses. The pluses is the income. One of the enhancements, I'll let the chief talk about it since he's the one doing it, is grants and what he's done for that department.
We had 2 grants that came in that were initiated shortly before I came here, but the first grant that I wrote was with the Police Accountability and Community Transparency Grant, which we got close to $30,000 for bringing in some new computer systems, modernizing our websites, paying for some of the things that we need to do for mental health, wellness for our department. One of the things, my background was when I came from my previous agency was writing grants. And as new grants are released, beginning over the next couple of months, where my goal is to try to see what we can bring grant-wise into this agency and into the Ocean Pines Association to help support the police department.
I got a question, Chief, real quick. I know you did recently have a new hire that is going to be running the evidence room. Can you explain a little bit about that role and responsibilities and the expectations that you have for that? That's the first part of the question. Secondly, as far as for positions, to see where you're at as far as for manpower and your expectations through this next year on getting some recruits into the academy.
Well, the new position that was approved by the board, it's called a property custodian, evidence assistant, criminal assistant. Her function, she's a part-time employee, but her function is to have 100% responsibility for the property room, knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going out, knowing what's being stored, modernizing how we're tracking our property. Right now, what she's doing is going through the backlog of property that this police department's accumulated over the last 3 years to see what we can get rid of and what we don't need. It's a big checks and balance system to have somebody in there who's dedicated to that function, who is trained. I was fortunate, I hired her away from an area police department. And she's got a very good reputation in her field, not only with dealing with property issues, but also dealing with assistance with criminal investigations from a civilian intel point of view. So I think that's a step up to our agency by having her with us. In terms of our prognostication for getting staffing here, we are advertising right now. We are hopefully planning by the beginning of February to start doing testing. The next academy will be starting the second week in July. We're hoping to I can hire up to 4 people at a time. If I could hire 4 people, that'd be great. The market for police officers is very competitive right now. That is one of the best things that helps us out with having a more competitive salary, having this step and pay grade system. We're competing with everybody else, and everybody else is in the same boat. I know my previous agency, we had trouble recruiting there, and we were a much larger agency. We have to make Ocean Pines attractive. And I think we're going down the right steps to do exactly that, to make Ocean Pines a place to be attractive to come work and a place for people to stay. So unfortunately, we did have somebody who was hired. He was starting this academy, and he made the decision not to continue. So while we took 1 step forward, we ended up taking 1 step back. But we are planning on doing a robust, multiple sessions of testing and trying to make it as easy as people to apply for us and get their foot in the door with us. If I can hire 4 people for the July class and 4 people, this is best case scenario, 4 people for the class that starts next January, that's going to put us up to close to full strength. But that would be a process that we're looking at about 16 months away from that happening with the staggered academies.
With that, do you feel that where you're at now and the competitiveness where we're at as far as the market with other agencies, are we where we need to be as far as for that market in recruiting and attracting talent?
We have a lot of stuff going for us. The biggest thing is everybody right now is giving a decent salary. The salary that we're proposing is right in the ballpark. We're actually higher than a couple other smaller towns in this area. We give with the take-home car program. That is a huge benefit that everybody else is giving. And if we can't offer that, it's going to put us behind the competition. There's some other things that I know we've talked about by trying to enhance in the future. But I think right now we are in the market. We are in the market being competitive to get somebody in here and try to get them trained and encourage them to stay.
Great. Good, Steve. Good.
Yeah, Chief, couple of questions, and John may also want to jump in on this. I want to pick up on that last point you just made, the take the car home program. I thought we had that in place, don't we?
Yes, it is currently in place. We're talking about
Okay. Now I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that if we have more people on the force, that we might have to purchase some additional cars, but we're not there yet. Is that correct?
By the time we got these people on the job, we have a progression. We wouldn't have to buy all these cars at once. We'd be phasing cars in.
Okay.
Of course.
My recollection is of the last
Today we
year. I'm sorry?
Excuse me?
My recollection is over the last couple of years, and this is probably prior to your arrival, we have had issues where we've had folks in the academy who washed out. We've had people who we thought we had signed up to serve go to another police force. We've been poached by the county and the state at different times. Two questions. One is, I assume your reference to testing the possible cadets would limit the number of cadets who might wash out of the academy. Is that sort of what the goal is?
Well, the goal is when we test cadets, we have to make sure they have the scholastic ability to pass the academy plus the physical ability. That's the first step. Then you have the psychological, the background checks after that.
Okay.
So that's a step, but the whole testing process is to ensure success in the academy.
So they don't wash out.
That's correct.
Okay. Second question, over the last year or so, have we, even though we have our retirement plan or retirement equivalency plan in place, we've raised salaries, all that, are we still having problems with getting poached by other police forces, whether they're cadets or they're on our force?
Since I have been here, I've had 2 people leave. One person decided he wanted to move out to Utah, totally left the area, and another gentleman just got out of traditional police work. But I have not had anybody poached to an area police department since I've been here.
Okay, thanks.
Hold on.
So Steve, let me just jump in. I believe what your question was on the cars, if we're at full staff, would we need more cars? Did I hear you right? Okay, so the answer is we would need a few more cars, yes. We don't anticipate that. We anticipate over this year and certainly the 16 months that we have enough cars. But you're right. If we were at full staff, we would have to analyze this, have discussions with the chief what's needed. But there could possibly be additional cars, yes.
And I would assume at some point we're going to have to face the idea of replacing old units with new units as well. So it's just an ongoing expense.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. This one's for John. Does the county charge us back for coverage? when the sheriff's department backs us up?
Yeah, they're not charging us, as of now, they are not charging us. When I had the situation this past year and I brought in a lieutenant or a commander, as I called it, we did pay for that. But we're not getting charged for this coverage at nighttime, no.
Okay, my other question was towards the chief. I know you're advertising for and actively pursuing, looking for other recruits. Maybe I'm just being, you've probably done this, I don't know. Have you looked at like criminal justice majors over at Wacomico or Salisbury?
Yes, I have. Well, actually, I've actually been in contact with the director of criminal justice at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore personally. I know him personally. I've spoken with the folks over at Warwick, and we're constantly out there recruiting every chance I meet. Every time I talk to anybody, whether even my personal, whether I'm at the gym, whether I run into anybody, I'm always trying to recruit on behalf of this agency. Myself personally, we're putting it on social media. We've been in the local media. We're trying to get the word out. It's a tough market to hire in right now.
What's your age limit?
Ain't no way.
There is no upper age limit.
Good, John.
Hey, Chief, I know you're very diligent on the grants, and I think you had actually made the comment that grants make the world go round.
Yes.
So, do you see, are you writing grants? Do you need help? If we had additional resources, does that help you with any of those monies? I mean, I just want to make sure, it's obviously good amount of money, and just want to make sure that you have what you need to get that, apply for everyone. Or again, you're the expert, so you know which ones to apply for. So is there help that we could provide, or are we good?
So John, I'm going to jump in. I just nodded with the chief. So we are fortunate. Chief is very good at it. We do have somebody. We have an outside contractor who is I call it part of Josh's team, who we utilize in certain situations. And I don't believe we utilize.
We used her for 2 grants before I came here.
Right. So we do have that. We have backup for him. We're very fortunate that the chief has background in this. But yes, we have backup for that, and somebody who also looks into that.
I've actually been, she'll call me and tell me about grant opportunities sometimes.
Right, that's one of the things that even with other stuff, she alerts us to any grants that are out there. She's been doing that for over a year. Josh is very high on it, and so are we.
Just had 2 quick things. One was on just a heads up, and you probably already know this. The county just put out a notice, I think, to the board, and maybe I'm not sure if you all got it, but they are coming up on their annual grant funding. And so there is a deadline for looking at any requests with county monies for that. So you might want to just, if you're not aware of it, look into that at this point. And then just a question on the recruits as they go through the academy. I don't know if I'm correct, if we pay for that, or some of it we pay for, whatever. But in lieu of, if people dropping out or determining to go to other agencies, do we have some sort of a contract with them that if they don't pass through, or they decide to go on someplace else, that they have to reimburse us for those educational costs?
Yes, first of all, once we hire them, they're totally on our dime. We provide all the equipment. We're paying them a salary. We do require them to sign a 3-year contract. Which is
if somebody's going into the academy, and are we paying for that? And if they either drop out, or as I think you mentioned with the one person, once they came out of the academy, they decided they wanted to go elsewhere. Do we?
If somebody is, we have a contract with them. If we paid for them to go to the academy, and let's say they were out here for 6 months and took another job, they'd have to reimburse us.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief, on that note, as far as would it be the individual that's to reimburse, or would the gaining agency would we ask them to reimburse us for that cost?
It's the responsibility of the individual who signed the contract.
Okay.
Whether they get somebody to pay it for them is up to them, but it's their responsibility.
And then Chief, just clarification, I know you did say this before, but I want to make sure I have it right. The Lexipol is being used to create new policies or update existing policies at both the state and federal level?
Yes, the way it works is, when I came in here, there were some policies that were dating back to 2006. And what it is, that's just some of them, but we're modernizing the policies for 2024. We're looking at best practice. This company looks at best practices from around the country, looks to make sure we're compliant with federal law, state law, takes recommendations from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And what we're doing is we're not recreating the wheel. That's the first thing. We're not undergoing the stress of writing these things. These things have been through legal review. They're legally sufficient. And the one thing I want to add is that the agency that it came from, Wacomico County, is one of the first agencies in the area to utilize this, and it's now being utilized by not only us, the Worcester Sheriff's Office, Ocean City Police, and the Salisbury Police Department. So this is the way of the future everybody's going.
Great, thank you.
And there's an upfront cost with that, and then there's an annual membership to that. Is that correct?
Yes, the annual membership, what that does is it's allows Lexipol, what they do, for an example, if a new policy gets pushed out, they'll send an email to all the officers. You have 7 days to review this new policy and acknowledge it. They maintain that system and that tracking system. They also have the responsibility if there's a change in federal law, state law, any kind of appellate law, anything that affects our policy, they have the responsibility of making sure it's changed and updated.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any other questions, Chief? Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thanks.
Congratulations on your upcoming settlement.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Next up, we got Rex and Parks. We got Debbie Donahue. It's tab 12.
Tab 12.
Okay, tab 12. Okay, so Debbie Donahue is here. Debbie, all you? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Am I talking up there? Okay. Let's see. So as I talked about last week, we just have some new things that we're bringing in as far as revenue is concerned. We have started some new programs. I have challenged my staff to bring in some new things, bridge some gaps in some age groups, and try to get out of a stagnant nature and be able to bring in some new revenue. One of the biggest things is some special events. We made some adjustments this year, added some new programs, which of course will come with some expenses, but we also alleviated some things that we needed to make some more revenue off of, so we made some adjustments to special events mainly. As far as leagues and stuff are concerned and classes, we have raised some fees that will take effect in May, of course. Farmers market fees have gone up, dog park fees are being adjusted, and summer camp is being adjusted. We're doing we've raised the fee, but we're also going to do 5 days a week instead of splitting it between 3 days and 5 days. It's just most of the time when they sign up for 3 days, they turn around, they come back and they want 5 anyway. So we're just going to offer the 5 days instead of the discounted 3 days a week. As far as my, overall supplies and services, those expenses are pretty much on point. As far as utilities, obviously those adjust as they do. Expenses for class instruction and leagues expenses, those types of things. We've made the adjustments to pretty much have them on point with a little bit of an increase because, everything increases every year. But that's pretty much, everything's pretty much across the board, evenly, and no real changes other than some adjustments to our special events.
Hey, Debbie, can you talk a little bit about these the special events as far as the revenue projection and what those special events are, if you were able to talk about them now?
Sure. So we do have not everything that's on here. You'll look at the detailed sheet for them, And most of these are just all expenses. However, the 4th of July celebration and the 5K make revenue. Family fun nights, let's see, all of our breakfasts that we do throughout the year, Reindeer Lane. Although you see where it says the old fashioned Christmas as a complete expense, we do offset that expense by selling trees, and they get bought by different families. You guys know how that works. So there is revenue that comes into that, revenue that comes into the family fun night, and all the rest of the things. Basically, are revenue making events. Whether it washes, makes money, it just kind of depends on the number of people that show up to those events. As far as Easter and the spring celebration and the fall celebration, Big Truck Day, those 3 events are completely free to the public.
More specifically, I'm looking on the Vienna Boys Choir. I know that's a big attraction. I do know that. What's the time frame that's gonna happen for that specific event, and how are we gonna manage as far as for sales for that, or
We're still working on those details. I have Kevin working with the PAC Center at the Convention Center in Ocean City. We had tried some of the churches. The Ocean Pines Community Church isn't quite big enough for the stipulations and requirements that they have for that event. Kevin went yesterday, took some pictures of the venue at the Convention Center, sent that off to the lady in charge of the Vienna Boys Club, or Boys Choir, excuse me. So we're waiting on logistics from them, making sure that what we have found as a venue will work for them. But right now the time frame is December. It's either the 10th or the 11th of 24.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as selling tickets are concerned, that is a conversation that I do have to have with Steve and Mark. They don't know this yet. And how we're going to navigate. They're sitting over here in the room with me. But we have to navigate that through the Convention Center and have them purchase tickets and work out the logistics on that. We just wanted to make sure that we could actually find a venue and be able to house this big of an event before we went too far into how we were gonna get all the logistics done.
Yeah, I do know they will sell out pretty quick. I do know that.
Yeah, I'm hoping. So it could turn out, we're hoping that it does turn out to be a very, very profitable special event. We are actually looking at sponsors as well, so that we can keep the ticket price affordable for everybody, as well as be able to make money, because the expense, as you see, is pretty expensive to house them, to bring them down here. But as far as the revenue is concerned, could also be a very good revenue. Yeah.
Any other questions? Jeff?
Thanks, Rick. Hey, good morning, Debbie. I'm the liaison for Parks and Rec. But
Yes,
prior to my time there, the committee has been reporting that like a park like Bainbridge Park needs some significant maintenance. And another item was the gymnasium floor in the community center. Has anybody looked at that to put this into the budget?
So we have looked at it, and if John's okay, we did not put it in the budget for this year because we are doing an overall evaluation of the community center and what maintenance needs to be done, how much needs to be done, if there's changes to the building that needs to be made. So we were good for one more year with the flooring, so that we can go into the overall evaluation of the community center itself and figure out as a whole in one big project what we may or may not need to do.
So let me, and I apologize, I was outside talking to golf and golf maintenance. What was the question on the floor for the gym?
It was Jeff was talking about the rec advisory committee, asking about the flooring being fixed or changed and replaced, and some stuff at Bainbridge. Just Bainbridge, yeah.
Right. So, and this is something that has been a topic, and as Debbie was saying, we have looked at it. I'm actually putting together a group to evaluate that, which Debbie would be a part of, and several others on that floor. We do maintain the floor, just like we maintain everything else. The updated from our team, every time they address it, is that it's okay. There is something there. If somebody could specifically tell me what it is, that would help before we jump in and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Right now, we maintain it. It's part of our maintenance.
Yes, absolutely.
Every time we do, I get the go ahead that it's good. But we are looking at that. We're looking at that whole building, as I've mentioned before. On the Bainbridge, and I'll let Debbie jump in, the Bainbridge, we have looked at that. We've also looked at our financials on that. We've looked at the depreciation schedules on that. We do want to do something there. Obviously, we got priorities, and but that is coming up. Do you want to add anything on Bainbridge?
Yeah, as far as Bainbridge, we had some plans there. We made some adjustments to it, according to the DMA study. Sorry, I always get that wrong. And some things is years and things that are on there, but we have addressed certain things about it, doing some upgrades over there, and adding some pieces to that playground until we kind of figure out the ADA thing.
But you've heard me talk about, we also look at the next 3 years and everything. That is something, Jeff, or whoever asked that, and you're probably going to see coming down the road.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. I remember, was it a year or 2 years ago or so, when that disc golf company came in and put that disc golf in?
Yes.
How's that going?
It's actually going really well. They have put in all of the tee boxes. Sorry, had to think in the golf world. They put in new tee boxes, and the baskets are all there. They keep the brush cleared away. They added more holes. And the groups of guys, they come out and play. We haven't had any issues. They clean up after themselves, and they do all the maintenance themselves.
Yeah, and I know that was a concern, and I'm glad it was addressed, and it's running well. Now, the over at what the heck's the name of it? Which one did you just mention?
Bainbridge.
At Bainbridge. You look at it like that ADA compliance stuff like over in Robin Hood to put there?
We have discussed what we wanted to do. That was where we wanted to do an overall inclusive playground. And then in different discussions, because of the DMA study, the way things kind of landed, it was going to be better for us at Bainbridge to include a couple of ADA pieces and make it a little more compliant with what we already have, and then discuss and go into an inclusive playground in another location. And that's been on the table for us just to kind of talk about and start all over with that project.
Okay, because I'll tell you, the pond actually does look kind of nice since you guys redid the whole drainage by the pond there.
Any other questions?
I just have one comment, but I wanted to just really thank you for looking at camp programs for the young teens. I think that that's always a concern, as that's the age where they're old enough to stay home, but mama still has to work. And having something for them to do, I think is really important in our community. So I'm glad that you addressed them.
Old enough to
Thank
get in
you.
trouble.
Old enough to get in trouble, correct?
So true.
With that supervision, so, yeah.
Any other questions? One more question, that's Stu.
One more, real quick, the skate park. Has that been looked at? Because I understand there's some issues with the skate park, cameras there, things like that.
So we haven't had as many issues as we were having for quite some time. I don't know if when we did the little bit of closure, with all the damage and things that were happening, if that kind of helped with the situation. But as far as damage and any of that stuff that we were having before, we are not having all of that anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's camera adjustments. We've had to make a lot of light adjustments because for some reason they do like to get in the light box if the lights aren't on when they want them to be. But other than that, things are going much better back there.
Thank you, Debbie.
Of course.
Any other questions? Thanks, Debbie, appreciate it.
Welcome.
Next up, we have racket sports with Tim.
Ask Tim to come in, please.
Got it. You're on, boss.
What's that?
13.
Teams.
Tim, right here.
It's not Steve.
That's what we're calling it. All right, how are you today? Okay, so Tim Johnson's here. Everybody knows Tim. And Tim was promoted to director about 5 months ago, hired beginning of the summer. So Tim, you're gonna go through your budget. You know, I'll help him with the numbers, but Tim is gonna talk about pricing. He's gonna talk about needs that he has down there in regards to a fence and anything else that he wants to bring up that we've covered here. But, you know, looking at tab 13 and looking at his numbers, and you look at the bottom line, which for this stage, like I said, I usually do. If you look at the budget compared to what he's estimating for the forecast this year, Steve, he is up, we are up. He'll explain to you, and Steve will explain to you what's causing that. It's mostly driven by pickleball, but we'll let them talk to you about that. When you look at the budget from 2024, you see a lot of favorability, and Tim and Steve will talk to you about that. So with that, why don't you talk to us about your pricing, about your needs, and anything else you want to hone in on down there, your memberships and anything else.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for your support for the Racket Center. We're looking forward to a banner year this year with our renovations to the building and some safety enhancements that we've already gotten put into place, and some other things that we're going to try to make happen. I guess the main thing that I wanted to talk about is we're going to have a lot more programming this year. I watched the hearings last week, and there was a question about tournaments. We're going to try to have more tournaments, more leagues, a lot more activity. I'm going to be working with the local schools to go in and help their PE teachers and hopefully get junior programs off the ground. But I'm very excited for this summer, and really, if you have any specific questions, please feel free.
I had one question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, as far as for your fees for pickleball, can you tell me on that, as far as that where we need to be?
When Steve and I were talking about this, I know that there was a discussion about 10% increase for pickleball and leaving the other amenities the same. And really, that was driven by our own members. We have pickleball members who travel around the country. They go to other facilities, and then when they come back, they report that the fees at the other places for memberships or for day passes are far more expensive than ours. And so they felt like we were selling ourselves short and that we should be charging more money for our memberships, for our day pass fees. I also have another segment of our membership who are concerned that we may be overcrowded. Sometimes you'll go down there in the summer and there'll be 80 to 100 people waiting to play on 12 courts, and they end up not being able to play for maybe once every 30 minutes they'll get a chance to play. And they were hoping that if we raised the prices, it might thin the herd a little bit so that they could actually play a little bit more often. So when you add that and this idea that, well, pickleball is our economic engine right now at the Racket Center, and it's the most popular sport in the country. And the thought is that even if we raise the rates by 10%, we would still see an increase in memberships, and that we should take advantage of this fact that pickleball is so popular right now. And so that's where the difference is between that and the budget and finance recommendation of a 3% across the board. The, with the softer, market for tennis and for, platform, we felt like, we could, raise the rates on pickleball and it wouldn't affect the pickleball operations. Whereas at 3% across the board, we may end up losing memberships and other amenities. That was just our thought when Steve and I were putting this together.
What about a thought of an increase on tournament fees? Is that something that is in consideration or have thought of? And also 2 point also, or do you feel where you're at with the 10% increase is where we need to be? Is that a point that you're at, or is that a flexibility as far as an increase in that as well? Just curious.
Totally flexible. The tournament fees that we charge are basically in line with other tournaments that are happening around the area. And so I probably would not recommend raising the fees for tournaments, only because we don't want to price ourselves out of the local tournament player market.
And that's fine. That's up to you as far as your recommendation. But as far as for the proposed 10% increase on pickleball, is that where you're at with that, or do you feel that there is room for an increase on that as well?
Let's know if you can go even into.
I'm comfortable with the 10, but I also we probably could go higher, and I don't think that would affect the demand at all. I really, well, you guys know this, pickleballers are crazy, and they'll do it. They'll
Doing great. First of all, so anyway, I think you did a great job on the pickleball, Rick. Excellent job, matter of fact. Look at this point now, it's obviously up to the board.
Right.
But he definitely articulated the situation very well.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know who this is directed, either Tim or John. I've been down there at the Racket Center, and by the way, it's gorgeous. B, the parking is an issue. Is there any way to rectify issues with parking because it's so flipping crowded down there? I mean, you have that ball field. Is that softball field being used?
So
it is being.
It's definitely a point, Stuart. I can tell you this, and I've mentioned about the next couple of years, and I did mention during budget and finance review that we are going to look at the situation down there. Bold moves may be recommended or done by this team. Tim and I have spoken, but I'm putting together a work group, as he knows, to evaluate that. And I mentioned in budget and finance, something has to be done. Agree, but we're going to review it, and probably not within this fiscal cycle, but definitely something will be coming forward to the board from our team.
I'll tell you, $20 and $30 increase for the family and individual. I think you're right on cue there, Tim, with what you're recommending. That's great. Maybe I guess a 5-level parking garage would be great too, but.
Steve, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know who this is directed at, but I'm just looking at the pickleball worksheet. The 2024 budget at the bottom for operating cost is at 54.9. Date is at 51, and then the estimate is 81. What is it that accounts for the $30,000 difference there? Is there some things that haven't come in yet, or?
Yeah, so it's, salaries are still going out through April, so, I mean, wages and benefits accounts for 50 minus 25, about 25, pretty much the full amount, 25 of the 30.
Right, okay. Second question. The recommendation of the Budget and Finance Committee for the 3% increased pickleball, tennis, and platform to replace 11% for pickleball. What is the impact on, is that revenue neutral, revenue negative, or revenue positive? Can you give me an idea?
Yeah, it's negative. It's around, I believe, $8,000 from a membership standpoint. We ran the numbers on that. One of the memberships. Yeah.
What's the amount?
About $8,000.
$8,000.
Yes.
Okay. So what would happen if you and maybe you haven't run the numbers, but I'm just curious. You could make up that $8,000 if you only lowered the pickleball increase from 11 to what? 7%, 6%, and raise the other two at 3%. I mean, the assumption is by raising we get more, and I'm not sure this is accurate based upon the report we got today, but I assume Budget and Finance is operating under the assumption that you can raise revenue from platform in tennis 3% and not have such a steep increase on the pickleball. The suggestion by Tim is, I'm sorry?
The reality is you're getting most of your fees through your daily fees. So we still have that increase in there. You know, we brought that up closer to the tennis level in terms of the fees that we're charging. What do we propose?
10 and 12.
10 and 12, correct. I want to say that accounts, we're up around $25,000 in daily fees on pickleball per estimate this year. I think we have 30,000 in the budget for next year, which is pretty conservative. So that's going to be your main driver.
Well, I guess my concern is what Tim said, as I understood it, was his concern is raising tennis and platform, is it platform tennis? Mm-hmm. Raising that 3%, we would actually lose some memberships in those two disciplines. So my question is, can we, this is a revenue loser for the association based upon what's coming from Budget and Finance. So my question is, can we lower the increase for pickleball and still live at 3% for the other two without losing membership? That's what I'm trying to figure out how to make it from a revenue loser to a revenue neutral.
We're more likely. That's right. That's really.
All right, Steve, look, so what he's saying is this, and look, first of all, I'm a proponent of raising them or whatever. What he's saying is that, and he's the expert, is that if we raise the fees to 3%, it's a soft market, his words, and he's right. He doesn't think he'll be able to grow it. He thinks he might lose some people. You know, that could go back and forth. But that's what he's saying if you're asking.
Okay, so
3% increase, and what Steve's saying, the 3% increase for tennis really isn't going to bring much money into the equation, and definitely the same thing with paddle tennis. That's the points they're making. All right.
Okay, so but we're still, as I understand what Steve is saying, based upon the Budget and Finance recommendation, this is a revenue negative proposal.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
so my question is, can we, without suffering losses, acknowledging this off market, without suffering losses on the tennis and the other discipline, can we lower the pickleball increase just a little bit and be at least revenue neutral? Or don't you know yet?
No, I understand what you're saying. Like I'm trying to, obviously the numbers are higher. So what you're saying is, but you got what you're saying? Yeah. So, you know, can we make that work? That could probably work, give or take. So the answer is yes.
Okay. Can you give us some idea what would make this proposal revenue neutral at some point or not?
We can, if we just spend like 10, 15 minutes on it. What we're gonna do is, I'm gonna give my team a break at some point. I'm gonna ask them to work on that, and we'll slide you a piece of paper with that, all right?
I'm not asking for it right now. I'm just saying before we make a final decision
So
on
we
the
can do that,
budget.
absolutely. we can
Okay,
do that.
that's fine.
And we're not talking with, major numbers here.
Jeff,
Thank you, Rick. Hey, John, has anybody looked at, maybe, since pickleball is so popular, maybe creating some kind of overflow pickle courts over at the swim and racket club tennis courts that really aren't being used?
So I couldn't make out who was saying it. Who am I addressing?
Jeff,
Jeff,
yeah.
So, look, we are doing a review. I am aware, we are aware, Tim's definitely aware. And we've gone out there. We do have courts there. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be looking at all possible options. We don't have it for this budget, but it's coming down the road, yes. Now, the feedback we've received in the past, just to let you know, from the memberships is, and again, just some of it, I mean, obviously we'll do our due diligence, but they all want to be in one place. But I got to be a realist on this thing, as I believe you are. We do have that very good areas over there. It is being looked at by Tim, myself, and a few others. Yes, good point. We're definitely gonna follow up.
Yeah, I just have one question, because when I'm looking at the at special events, it looks like you're budgeting substantially less for that. I just don't know if there were certain events that you're just not gonna do this year because they weren't beneficial or something. Because it looks like they were all, like around 10,000, and now we're dropping it down to 3 for next year, if I'm reading this correctly.
Okay, so on the mechanical side, excellent question. I should have addressed that. If you look down, one line down for the tournaments, Mark just pointed to me, because this has come up before, that's where you gotta look at the two numbers. Again, they're, look classified. So yeah, take the two numbers together.
Okay, and then I just want to confirm that the rates that were suggested for pickleball were really based on membership feedback in that category, correct?
Right, it wouldn't address daily rates or drop-ins.
Right, but then when we're looking at a 10% increase, we're looking at something that was actually recommended by the members, not something we just which to me is.
Yeah, so I gotta just make sure it was coming in a little bit here. We just, you're asking, did we look at the daily rates also and put increases? That was your question. They're all saying yes. And that was the instruction they were given.
John.
Question for Tim. The drawings for the building, the remodel, and it's been approved. Is that adequate? Is that what you're looking for? Is that helpful?
Yes. We went through the drawings with Frank, and he put in exactly what we needed. There's office space. There's room to build our pro shop, and we'll have adequate storage in there, and mostly just, we really needed to have the extra bathrooms. So everything that was on my list is in the drawings.
And that was what we also got. That's what you also got from the committees.
Thank you.
I got a question too, and whether it's John or Tim, we have a problem with fencing and all that around there. How are we gonna address the fencing issue that we have that's down there, Tim, with people jumping fence, that type of stuff? What are we gonna do about that, Tim? Have you had a thought about that?
I have an estimate in hand, and the GM and I are gonna walk the property and see if what we have in mind is feasible. I'm still hoping for a fence because I feel like it'll be the best way to stop the interlopers. But yeah, we're definitely working on it.
So let me just add on that. So we did add a fence. We added to the fence, as you know, back X amount of months ago, just as we were completing it. And I was in a board meeting. Tim sent me a text saying they were jumping over, catapulting it, whatever, the fence. With that, what he is coming now with is what we talked about the other day. I guess he went to Home Depot, and he has a fence in mind that would be an additional 22,000. I already have Nobi down there measuring and looking at the type of fence that Tim is telling us that he needs, that he believes they can't scale. Now, the first one he told me was a chain link, and I gotta be honest with you.
Right.
In my young days, it was very easy for me to scale a chain link. I'm not a big fan on that. We'll look at the price of it. We are looking at this other fence, which is what we have at the golf course. I just got to make sure it is 22,000. But I have a fence there. I also want to see, and I'm talking with Tim about what we need from a management level, because regardless of what we do down there, quite honestly, they're gonna, then they're gonna go all the way around the back. So we are looking at that. He is coming forward. He does want the 22,000 or whatever it costs for this fence, though, to answer your question, Rick.
Sure. And also too, is there any kind of security that we have down there, cameras or anything like that, that is around that facility?
We
So,
do
or
have.
is there a need? Or is there a need?
We would
for that?
probably need, in the absence of fencing, we would need probably more cameras to cover the whole front of the facility. And then I think we would also need to probably have extra staffing if we're going to be able to chase these people down, if we're going to be able to track them down. We've talked about some other possible things like issuing badges or cards or wristbands or something just to see if we can figure out by monitoring, the people who are maybe didn't pay. So we still have a lot of options to try to solve this. I really feel like it causes a lot of problems with our members who see people, just wandering in and playing for free. It's definitely a problem that we need to get a solution to. Cameras could be one.
Yeah, I just think it's something that definitely needs to be on a front burner if we're going to alleviate that problem. Because people jump the fence, of course, you got lots of revenue that would be equated to that because they're not wanting to pay. So there's an issue on that. So I think that's something that we may want to take a look at moving forward at some point.
Okay. We definitely, yes.
Else got any questions? Tim, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Come down and hit with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, next
Well,
up.
I'm gonna hop the fence.
Barbed wire goes over top of, we're gonna zap him. Barbed wire.
I guess next up, we got golf operations, golf maintenance.
What's the numbers?
Golf maintenance is 16.
16.
Golf maintenance.
Golf maintenance is 16.
All right, I guess we're gonna start with golf maintenance, and here he is right on cue, Justin Hartshorn. Justin doesn't, I will, you got it?
Okay.
Yeah, Justin has everything, and Justin will go through his numbers, he will answer any questions.
All right. Yeah, so for the maintenance budget, the biggest adjustment we really had this year is just looking at payroll. Steve and Marks, they helped a lot with setting that up. Yeah, as far as some of the other items, we just I got some better pricing this year for some chemicals, so kind of left some things pretty flat compared to the previous year. We've been having some success with it. We're just starting to see pricing stabilize, things like that. Yeah, so not a whole lot of changes there. Trying to look what else. But yeah, really, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, just before he does that, let me just summarize. So chemicals is the big number. He honed in on that. And I can tell you over the 5 years, he has pretty much revamped that and a lot of efficiencies, and you see the results. So great job on that. The other biggest thing on the maintenance, of course, is the salaries. And if you look through that, we go through that. He has done a great, in my opinion, he's done a great job on that. What say you?
Is the drop as far as for the fertilizer and chemicals, that just due to more efficiency or utilization of past practice?
Yeah, so some of that's some pricing. I've actually received some lower pricing this year for some chemicals I use, which you hardly ever see, but just the way the market is right now on some of those. So I'm actually going to save money on some applications. And I evaluate it every year because we're looking at the weather conditions and it changes on the fly. So I do make adjustments, and that program actually has looked a little different every year since I've been here. So just trying to make some adjustments to changing. So that's why I'm kind of keeping that number pretty steady with what we did the previous year.
Go ahead, Elaine.
Part-time seasonals just seems to be the biggest jump in payroll. Is there a reason for that? Was there a shortage last year and you're expecting more? Is there a need for more?
I think we've filled up the staff, and I think a lot of that's been with the minimum wage adjustment is kind of a bulk of that, because I have a lot of guys on the bottom end, so we're seeing a minimum wage increase, which is affecting those numbers.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rick, let me jump in on something that's come up and I've brought up every time, and Justin will definitely answer it. I didn't tell him, but we do have the irrigation. We are going to be looking at a number of holes. This is something that's going to be spread over 4 or 5 years. We're not doing it in 1 year. If you did it in 1 year, you then would have disruption to the course. The way he's planning it, the way we're planning it, the outside consultant that we hired, they'll be minimal, and I'm going to let Justin jump in. But we do have a 19th fairway and 19th green, which is in excellent shape, which will be utilized. So there is a plan for that. As I've mentioned before, and as we've planned from the beginning, it's going to be mostly between November and March, which, yes, the members play there, but I can tell you this, as being a member and knowing all the members, there'll be minimal disruption to the course, and the members understand it. Justin, anything you want to add, or what you're going to do to minimize it?
Yeah, no, I think John touched on that quite well. And we did talk to the designer, the contractors, and they're very used to doing that. Having the 19th hole is actually a major benefit. A lot of these contractors and companies and designers now are actually installing 19th holes on a lot of courses in association with practice areas, just so they can do projects and maintenance and keep the 18 holes open on the golf course. So that's certainly going to help us out through that stretch, or at least every customer is still going to be able to get 18 in, and we'll just close the hole that we're working on at the time. So I think we're going to see very little disruption as well through the project, and especially that time of year. It's a lot quieter, a lot more member play, things like that in the off season. It shouldn't be too much of an impact once we figure out how to reroute around the holes that are closed. But yeah, it shouldn't really impact much in that aspect.
Okay, that.
Any questions, guys?
The course is in great shape, by the way.
Yeah,
absolutely. Appreciate it.
It's a great shape.
And your hair is nicely manicured, I might add.
Yeah.
Next up is golf operations.
Justin, thank you, Justin. Great job. Okay, is Bob Eckelman here?
Thanks, Justin. Thank you.
Go back to 15.
15. All right, so Bob's here. I'll talk to you about the operations side, the revenue side, the side I like a lot.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
All right. We're looking forward to another good year. We've had a nice amount of package play, public play, and resident play, which we're going to continue to try to build on. Justin's done a great job keeping the course in shape, so everyone's been very happy with playing Ocean Pines. We're getting very good reviews from the packagers and hotels. So So that's a huge benefit to us. With the golf course in good shape, we can build on our numbers year after year, hopefully. So we're looking forward to another good year. Not a whole lot of changes on my end. We had some payroll increases individually, but overall, we are streamlining the staff a little bit. So we actually came up with a slight savings in payroll, even with the $15, the minimum wage increase of $15 an hour. I finally had a full year under my belt. So basically I went through each individual employee's hours and basically figured out our total payroll based on that, how many hours exactly they worked in a year. So it was actually a little bit less than I would have predicted for this year. So we're going to carry on with that. Most of the supplies, services, utilities, and so forth, we really don't have any changes there. Payroll detail. Should I talk about John O'Connor's change?
Sure.
We did make a slight change with my right-hand man, so to speak. I guess we call him my first assistant, John O'Connor. We moved him to a full-time salary position to give him a little bit more flexibility in overseeing the staff, helping me oversee the staff when I'm there and overseeing the staff when I'm not there. Gave him a little bit more responsibility in the pro shop and outside, and gives him a little bit more flexibility with his hours as well. He comes in some nights to set up tournaments for the next day and that sort of thing. So he won't have to, he'll be much more flexible with his hours that way. It's very difficult for anyone in the golf business, first assistant, director, golfer, whatever, to have a kind of a set contained schedule, because as soon as you have to walk out the door, you're going to walk out the door, you run into 3 members that have questions and you end up being there 2 hours longer than you expected. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast, and I think this will help him grow in his position and also help me run the operation and keep a closer eye on the operation with efficiencies and so forth. I don't know if you noticed, but
yeah, this is aimed at Stu Ackerman. I don't know that we actually met, but listen, we've lived here 11 years, and there was a time where golf was killing us, and we were doing horrible. I mean, Justin has done an amazing job of the quality of our golf course. But since your tenure specifically, there's been a dramatic turnaround. And you're driving the economic engine that makes our amenities profitable here and keeps our assessments low. What do you think you can, how did this happen? From people wanting to make it into a park to making it the economic engine that it is under your tenure?
Well, not necessarily.
I mean, I'd love to take some credit for that. I certainly wouldn't take all the credit for it. The association has done a great job. Justin has done a great job. What I brought to the table basically was coming from River Run. We owned Pam's Packages, so I had great relationships with the package companies and the hotels already, because that was our primary business over at River Run. So I was able to bring that relationship over here and help us with our package rounds there. The public play in particular is a lot reputation, and we've been rebuilding the reputation for the golf course and for the golf operation for the last couple of years. So that certainly has helped as well. And then the residents really seem to be buying in. I think the residents in general are happier with Ocean Pines as a whole, and the golf course is a certain part of that. So they're buying more into the amenities. I think I could be wrong and I might be mistaken, but it seems like they're using all the facilities more, the restaurants, the So just a great job by everyone in OPA. That was opinion.
Stuart, if I may, you don't, Stuart, if I may.
Good.
Thank you, Stuart. Look, this didn't just happen overnight. He's been here a year, and credit to him. He is the next phase of it. But I've mentioned this before, and it's credit to the boards, it's credit to the people of Ocean Pines. I've been doing this over 15 years with assessments and budgets and all that. And what I witnessed for years and years and years was cut at any cost. I witnessed 2 years where we cut the budget for expenses for the golf course, 30, 40,000, 2 years in a row. When I came in here, Andre asked me to go down there, the equipment, I couldn't believe it. The equipment was poor. They couldn't get the job done. There was a drainage issue there. All the pipes had failed. And I've mentioned this before, where the water drains, not just the water for the golf course, but the water for Ocean Pines drains through that golf course. Andre showed me that. We walked all of them. We fixed all those pipes. Once we fixed that and got all the drainage going through, then you bring in somebody like Justin, who has done, we've all said it, an incredible job with that. So there are a lot of different factors, but the main credit is to the board, where when we came forward with the budgets and asking for, specifically, I'll say it, the Doug Parks, Larry was in there, Colette, Rick, all of you, where we invested, which generated more money and gave them a fair chance to make money. The course is beautiful, but you couldn't play the rough. They couldn't maintain the rough. So it's a lot of different steps and it's a lot of different people, but we have the right team in place, and we'll talk about Matt Ruggieri also. I was hoping that he would mention that and what he's brought to the table, which has definitely driven results. So it's a whole big thing, but we've put the course in the hands of 2 qualified people. How's that?
Yeah, good. Steve, you got a question?
No.
Okay. Just real quick, and I agree. I mean, the course is incredible. I noticed there's been a lot of, tournament play, increase in that. Are you doing more promotional to get more tournament play to Ocean Pines and shining on our great amenity that we have?
Tournament play. He wants to know if you're doing more.
Tournament play, I basically take on I don't market for it, and I'll tell you why. We do a handful of tournaments every year, and I do get some requests for other tournaments each year. The problem with tournaments really is that most of them are charity tournaments, and if they're charity tournaments that are near and dear to Ocean Pines, we do them. If they're just looking for someplace to hold their charity, a lot of times they're looking for everything for free. So they're not great financial decisions. So I look at each one individually, the time of year they're going to do it, the day of the week they're going to do it, and so forth. And I make a decision based on that. If I would make more money on that day not doing the event, then I have to take that into consideration. But I look at all of them. We get a handful of calls every year for them, but mostly where we're promoting is with the package play, resident play, and membership.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Steve?
Yeah, Bob, couple of questions. My recollection, I think it came up maybe at the Budget and Finance meeting, was the rates are going to go up about 3%. That's for, I guess, the daily play. Is that a fair description?
We raised it, I don't know what percent, but I raised it primarily for public and package play in the spring. What I do every year is I sit down with the hotels and packagers and find out what everyone's rates are and where they believe we should fit in that rate schedule, so to speak. Last year we raised the public and package rates, and this year we raised the public and package rates, trying to keep us in that window of where we kind of belong in the pecking order.
If I can add to that, the package experts that we deal with, that we reached out to once we made some changes there, they recommended, I just want to make sure that you're clear, they recommended to us to raise the prices.
That was my understanding. And our rates for playing Ocean Pines are competitive with the other golf courses in the area similarly situated, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. As liaison for the golf committee, the committee was really happy, for instance, with your suggestions on changes in the scorecard and making it a trifold, and all of that went through that. That was really good. I want to turn to the, not quite sure what you call it, the barn, the shed, the building at the back end of the parking lot. There's as I understand it, you all are looking at trying to make use of that building, particularly in the winter for lessons and all that. Can you give us an idea of where that is in the process?
Yeah, the plans have been turned into the county. My understanding is they have not come back from the county yet. Have you heard anything different from any? But
yeah, so as he mentioned, we put them into the county. We did have preliminary discussions with them. We shouldn't have a problem. Right now, I have the Tiki Bar priority, the racket sport, or the pavilion next in the racket sports, and I'm hoping to do a lot of this work in-house. So we do plan still to have this done by the summer, but we just got to get the county back. The person we need is not in right now, but we're looking to do that in-house with a vendor who does a lot of concrete work for us. And you're right, that's going to enable more lessons. I believe Bob also wants some square footage out there for an office for himself, which I have signed off on.
And I had one other question that just escaped my mind.
So you don't recollect that recollection?
I don't recollect. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Okay.
Anybody else got any questions on golf? Justin, thank you. Appreciate your time coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, I'm sorry, Rick. Linda is Michelle.
Aquatics and
No,
beach parking.
she's doing a class right now.
Okay, so Linda, who aquatics does report up into at this time, she'll take us through aquatics.
Okay, as we noticed, the revenue is up a little. We're not expecting the snack bar to be a revenue driven item. It's gonna be less than 10,000. So this is just a bold move from the aquatics manager, soon to be aquatics director. She just thought it would be something to enhance the customer experience that we put in the strategic plan. So we are not planning to have this as a huge revenue generator. So it will be, I gave misinformation through Info Ocean Pines. We did have in the previous amenity rules that anything that had food served would not allow food from the outside. I gave misinformation. That was not it was in the previous, but somehow it was never enforced. So this will allow for outdoor coolers to be brought in at swim and racket. So I do apologize for that. But this vending, so the revenue is up a little. As far as the payroll has put in an increase. If you noticed that we are starting the seasonals at $15.50 per lifeguard and 16 for CPOs. I have talked to Michelle. Michelle said that the majority, if not all, will be returning from last year. They are aware of the salary and they will be returning. So if any other problems with payroll, she said that she will address through job fairs at Salisbury University, but she is confident that she will be getting all of her staff back. If not, she will do the job fairs. So wages and benefits are up. Service and supplies are up as well. Repairs and maintenance, we can't stay steady. Utilities are up. other costs as well are, well, they're pretty much steady, but the net operating is 75,247.
John.
Hey, Linda, a quick question. As far as the statutory increase for wages, do we find that like the compression is that difficult for us to kind of manage? I guess it would be difficult if we just openly just gave out raises or something. But are we getting feedback? Or are we probably not there until everyone starts to work and they said, hey, well, I was making X and now the minimum wage has increased, you know, what do you do about the others? You know, just kind of generally, is that challenging? We kind of manage that on a one by one or individual by individual.
It's usually individual by individual. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Stu.
We're looking to be flush with lifeguards and not have any issues with any rolling closures or anything, right?
I know we shouldn't have, last year we had minimal closures just at the beginning of the season due to most of them are college students. So we should have probably minimal closures this year as well.
Thanks, Linda.
I have just a suggestion. I've had a few people, actually more than a few, and that ever wonder if there will be maybe a pool for evening swimming, that they don't buy memberships because of that. And as I recall, when the old yacht club used to have the evening hours, I got a membership every year. I ended up dropping my membership when it was no longer allowed because of the parking restrictions, both there and of course Mumford's pool. But there's a lot of working families who have mentioned, you know, we buy a membership, but you know, we're working all day. And so, you know, we only have weekends and the pools are so crowded on Saturday, it's very hard to really make full use of them. I don't know if it's something that's ever worth considering again, whether it may just be a money loser. But I think there's some working folks and working families, it's something that they would like to have. I just don't know if it's feasible. Or if we kind of looked at being able to do that. I mean, swim and racket would probably be the only pool. The sports car, where I do believe it has evening hours, usually for classes. So it's not really conducive to, you know, having kids who want to kind of jump and splash around a bit.
I'm sorry, Steve.
I have a couple of questions. As I understand what's in the worksheet, we are looking at being about $75,000 down on aquatics overall between revenue and expenses. Budget and Finance Committee recommends a 3% increase in the membership fees, not dealing with daily or weekly, or I guess even drop-in fees. Two questions. One is, will that increase cover the $75,000 deficit in aquatics, to the best of your knowledge?
I don't think we've have put in, I'm not sure if we put it in what you have presented in front of you, the recommended from the Budget and Finance of the 3%.
Right.
So
65.
So Linda, so we got some numbers here. Let Steve articulate a couple numbers.
Yeah, so the increase would produce 10,965 in additional revenues if we took it up to 3% just on the memberships. So no, it would not totally erode the 75,000.
It'd be someplace between 64 and 65 short, right?
Correct.
Okay, so here's my question. My recollection is last year, but by the way, I have an annual membership. I don't have a problem paying the 3% extra. That's not my question here. But the issue, it seems to me, is I believe last year we did not increase any fees at all for aquatics.
Correct.
And we're not gonna increase the daily or, the daily or weekly fees this year. I assume that includes drop-ins as well. And yet we're still gonna run at $65,000 under what we need to be to subsidize the program. So what's the justification for not increasing daily and weekly fees?
Yeah, so Steve, we did not increase any items in aquatics this year in our proposed budget. The guidance I received was that we're not going to.
Okay.
So, I mean, look, you can see there's a pattern of the way we've approached every department except that's the guidance we received.
Okay.
If you're asking opinions, that would be a different story.
Okay, I'll ask for your opinion. Okay, pass on that.
Good answer.
You're muted, John.
He's muted.
On purpose. That never heard me really think. That's what he really did.
Okay,
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
let me approach this from a different angle if I can.
Stay here. Stay here.
John, you're
Muted.
muted.
Participation.
You're muted.
He might actually not be talking.
He's still going.
Sign language is muted.
Okay, can I approach this from a somewhat different angle? At some point, we're going to have to raise our daily and weekly fees for aquatics. Last year, we filled our lifeguard needs. We had additional expenses. This year, we're doing the same thing. We have additional expenses. And if we don't have some sort of nominal increase in these fees, we're gonna blow it up pretty high in the next year or two. I mean, we can't leave it at what it was 2 years ago. So I'm still trying to get a handle on what can be done to at least offset the losses in aquatics. Okay, never mind.
We got can't hear.
He doesn't really.
I can walk around here.
Yeah, walk down. Take care.
He hears
Well,
them.
he's having a ball, whatever he's talking about.
Oh, we know what he really thinks. That's
He's
really.
mute. He's muted.
He's muted. Well, he's.
There's a same.
There you go.
Wait, but I have some of my best speeches and you didn't hear it. So to answer your original question, it behooved the
Start
GM
all over.
to follow the guidance. So I guess my mannerisms, that was the guidance and it behooved me to follow it. No increases for aquatics, and that's the decision, whatever. Your question, which I'll take as a general financial question, of course, if your costs are always going up and you leave your price the same and your quantity or volume doesn't go up, obviously you're going to have a deficit and you're going to increase the deficit. Now, again, I'm talking general to answer your question. I have seen this. I've been doing this 15, 20 years here. And it's all about a balance. We just have to look at that. We have to decide, when you pay the piper. When we start cutting costs to cover it, that's a flag to me. And I've been saying that for 5, 7 years. That's a flag. We haven't done that. I'm not going to do that unless instructed. But you're right. You're running a deficit. You are right. I can't even.
Well, even just coming at it from almost a marketing point of view, if you don't have some sort of annual increase over a couple of years, at some point, you're going to have to really inflate that cost, in this case, for daily and weekly rates. I mean, you can't move, if you don't bring in more money out of that source for 2 or 3 years, then at the 3rd or 4th year, you're going to have a 10 or 12 or 15% increase.
You are right.
And nominally.
If you're looking for me to say you're right, you're right. We have to manage it. And like I said, we haven't gotten to the point where I'm coming forward with a proposal, cutting costs, or somebody's telling me, go in there and cut, like I've witnessed 7 years ago, 5 years ago. That hasn't happened. I hope it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in this budget, but you're right. If other things all are equal over time, we would be in that situation. And then, and we've seen this with the marina or whatever else, then when we try to catch up, it looks like it's a high percentage. That's why there has to be a balance. This is a solid budget, but you have points that we have to, obviously has to be looked at over time. I won't be a part of it if we're cutting costs just to make a budget, because you can't manage the place. And nobody has told me to do that.
We're not doing that.
Well, I'm not suggesting the answer is to cut
No, I know
costs.
that. No. I'm just
Right.
answering your question in a general way and what I've witnessed over 15, 20 years in Ocean Pines, that's all. And not uncommon anywhere else. No board that I've been dealing with has told me that. And compliments to the boards is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, you got some decisions to make on aquatics, Steve.
All right, thank you.
And I would just add that, my wife and I had the couples membership, which we absolutely love, but, it was probably the pool. I don't know how many days there were at capacity. And I was speaking of yacht club pool, because that's typically the one we go to. But I mean, there were days you can't get in that place.
Oh, yeah.
So, the fee, I know, and I always felt like our daily expenses for a family coming in outside, like, oh man, you better go get a home equity line to get to the pool, right? But, we don't seem to have an issue getting people in there. Now, I can't speak to the other pools because I'm not as familiar with how, what that traffic looks like, but
You also run
just an observation.
yourself out too, maybe not too expensive where people can't go.
I'm telling you, take a family of 4 in there, it's what, 60 or bucks or something like that, or?
Yeah.
I'm always also more in favor. I mean, I do think that we need to probably look at that a little bit, but it's, the outside memberships, I think it should be substantially different. That if our pools are too crowded for our members and people who are buying memberships that can't get in,
Well, hold on.
I think our rates should be looked at.
No, I hear you, Lane.
Yeah.
John, real quick, or Steve. What is the percentage of people that are outside that use our pools? I understand it's a very small percentage as opposed to the large percentage that is perceived to be. Am I correct with that?
So, right, in the whole big scheme of things, first of all, let's make this clear, we are open to the outside, you're right. It's not a big number. I got Ruth Ann's looking at it as we speak. One thing I can tell you though, Stuart, over the last year, and I have the numbers if you want them, the increases that we've seen has, as far as the dollar amount and everything, has come from the outside, or what they call associates. But you're right, it's not a big number.
10%.
What is it, 10?
About 10%.
So Ruth Ann just did a quick calculation. She told me 10%.
Mostly us that are using the pools, right? It's only 10% of people coming from outside.
But we can.
Yeah, but is that 10% outside, like grandchildren coming down, or we're talking, people that have cost $589?
Those are just associate memberships that don't live here. So
Right.
they might live in Berlin, they might live in Ocean City. Those are just the associate memberships,
So-
not the daily.
Yeah, so it
fees.
doesn't have the grandchildren coming in.
No.
Because I'm looking at the numbers here, the associate individual, you saw 14 of them. Individual winter 1, individual yearly 19 for associate swim. We're selling the hell out of couples memberships. 223, you're projecting 300 this year, $90,000. That's with no increase in fees. That's huge. All right, I'm with you.
I think we should definitely, even though the overall number is large, that you jack those up much higher in order to do anything very modestly, if at all, in our actual number.
I hear.
Yeah. Because.
Don't increase the fees The nominal rate is 4 years down the road, you're gonna blow everybody right, no pun intended, blow everybody right out of the water.
No, I get,
So you can't be penny wise and pound foolish.
We have definitely spent money on projects that are going to benefit our amenities and increase revenue. I agree.
We're running 75,000.
Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Wrap up. We'll pop again. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. Linda, John?
Okay, so you're done with aquatics and you still have to beach park, Linda?
Yeah, I think we're done with aquatics.
Yeah, we're done with aquatics.
Okay, thank you.
So when we come back, we'll do beach club or beach parking, sorry.
Okay, and I know that the food's coming in a few minutes.
oh, do we want to then?
Hold on, we'll just wait, we'll just wait.
We'll mush through.
We'll mush through this.
Okay, so the beach
So
park.
let's go ahead and do beach parking, then we'll take a break when the food
Good.
comes.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, Linda.
Okay, beach parking,
19.
18, 19, 18.
Yeah, 18.
19.
19.
19.
Oh, sorry.
Oops, beach parking.
Yep.
Looks like he's not showing up. Somebody said he's coming.
I'll show you the email. It just says I'll see you for the board presentation.
Yeah, Rick said something.
okay. Beach parking, we had put in a, increase in the fees for the parking, so that's reflected here. Wages and benefits are up to statutory increase. Services and supplies are down slightly from last year. And the total cost for the insurance is up, like in other departments, leaving a net operating of 585,234.
Questions?
Question.
John?
I think I know, but the parking lease, that's the revenue from secrets?
Yes, yes.
And that's a 3% increase a year. I think maybe, I haven't seen that specifically, but I think that's the way it goes. 3% a year.
I think it's a 3% increase. The contract I don't have in front of me, but yeah, I think it's a 3% increase a year.
Yeah, and we're like in year 4 of a 10-year agreement or something like that. Is that?
I think it's.
You can come back to it. That's not.
How many years are you in? How many years are you in the contract? 3 or 4?
I'm sorry.
What year are you in the contract?
What, with the Leighton?
Yeah.
With secrets? I think we're in the third. We're in the third. I mean, we can get the exact, but I'm pretty sure we're in the third. So.
We got another question there, John, for you.
Yeah, for beach parking, I remember talking about something about having a card to swipe to get in. Are we still on track to do that, or?
Yes, IT's been working hard on this. I think they have all the equipment in. This is just for the bathrooms themselves. I think there was an article out there stating that was for the actual going into the parking lot. This is for the beach club bathrooms. But yes, it should be installed before the season, yes.
Okay, but not for parking.
Correct.
No, not the parking. We'll still have the parking attendants.
Yeah, parking has the scanner for the parking permits. We're pretty happy with that. It's working.
Go ahead, Steve.
I don't want to interrupt.
No, you're.
Oh, okay. Can you folks provide us with the information as to the impact of the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation to
That's pretty good.
increase the annual fee for only 3%?
So Steve, we're just talking about that. Steve has the numbers and I'll let him get into the numbers. We worked on that. So there is, and you're right, with the Budget and Finance recommendation guidance, we did work that up. And they said 3% across the board. We put that in there. There is a difference from what we recommended, which we benchmarked. Linda, we did benchmark. Is that correct?
Yes.
Steve has the number. If you're asking for the number, Steve will give it to you. You're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Steve,
asking.
somewhere around 45, Steve?
It's actually, it's 54,200. We had $25 in there, not necessarily a percentage. Taking that to 3% across the board is $54,200.
So that's a net drop in revenue of 54.2?
Correct, a proposed,
Yes.
yes, and that's out to 3%.
And that only affects, am I correct, that only affects the annual rate?
No, I think they had rate increases across the board.
Okay. So the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation is only for a 3% increase across the board as opposed to what was in your proposal?
Correct, which is a approximate, I use round numbers, around $50,000 drop in revenue.
That's drop in
The
revenue.
exact number, he'll tell you it's 54,000.
Hey, John, just a quick question, I had a note that the daily parking was 45, and the book says 70, but we made I think we, it was a typo, so it should be $50, right? Not 70.
Linda, yes?
Yes, it was a typo. We were trying to be a bold move, but yes, it's supposed to be $5, not.
I got you, Linda. I got you.
Bold move.
We're watching you.
That was a bold move, put it in there.
God bless you. That takes away my question, thanks.
But, anybody else have any questions regarding, the aquatics and beach parking?
Okay, so let me just, Matt said he's gonna start off with the beach club. Can you write this down? That's number 18, tab 18. Then he's gonna go to the clubhouse, 17, tab 17. And then he'll finish up with the yacht club, which is 20.
16.
Right?
That's fine. Yeah.
He doesn't have the tab numbers.
Where we at now?
18.
18.
All right, well, you.
Good morning.
Hey, Matt, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. How are you?
No problem. Hopefully this won't take too long. I've done this twice with the B&F committee now. And majority of what I'm going to say is the same things I said in the past. With the beach club is consistently our best percentage-wise profit maker. I think that's for a lot of reasons. One, it's only open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We did discuss possibly, the question was brought to me, could we do more if we stayed open through September? The issue with that is the pool closes, and to be honest with you, once you get past Labor Day, it just doesn't. You don't get enough juice for the squeeze. We'll open up, and we'll have to pay staff to be there, and the profit dollars will just not increase. We did increase the beach club projected net operating. By about $35 or $30,000 over the year before. I'm sorry. Staring at a bunch of different numbers here. We did increase it. It was the largest increase of the three amenities. I think there's a 95% chance that these numbers will be hit no matter what happens with the weather, with the economy, with the tourist season. So that's why these are the numbers that I presented. With 95% certainty, I don't think we'll have any issue hitting those numbers. I'll take any questions about the beach club.
Question.
Just quickly, if I may, the variance at the bottom of 48.5, that's the reflection between the 2024 estimate and the 2025 estimated. And my guess is the estimated amount is sort of just in case the weather is what it was like at the end of this year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
You know, it's especially important, it's important everywhere, weather is important everywhere. But at the beach club, if it's bad weather, we don't even open because nobody's gonna go there. So you lose an entire day. And if you lose a Memorial Day Saturday or a July 4th Saturday, that's major dollars that you're losing. And there's nothing you can do, and you can never make it back up because we're only open 3 months there. However, even in the worst of years, it consistently hits the numbers, and it consistently does the best percentage net operating out of all 3 units.
Really? Okay.
Other questions? All right. Next, I'm gonna go with the,
It's,
think it says
17. Clubhouse, Matt, 17, yep.
Okay, Clubhouse. Clubhouse is, I believe it's in its second full year since the building was remodeled, rebuilt. Golf operations definitely helps out the clubhouse. I think golf operations is doing a great job over there, getting a lot of foot traffic in, and we gradually see just the clubhouse continuing to grow. We were conservative, as we always are. Again, 95% probability of us hitting our numbers, but we do take in consideration, mitigating factors that we can't control. Again, weather, pandemics. I would have never said that 3 years ago because I never thought we'd have one, but we did. So it affects a lot of things. We increased the net profit by about $6,000 over last year's budget. And again, I'm very comfortable with these numbers. I actually believe that the clubhouse is going to continue to grow. We are definitely starting to see some influx of banquets over there. We had our this past year we had double the banquets we had the year before. So we're pushing any smaller banquets, any smaller like that over to the clubhouse. And again, when I look at all 3 amenities, I combine them together because one can pick up the slack for the other, depending on if things are affecting, if the beach club is being affected by weather. Hopefully we can drive some people to the clubhouse for breakfast and for events, and that'll offset some of the factors that we can't always control. I think the clubhouse is going to continue to grow in sales, and I think it'll continue to grow in net profit. And we have some cool ideas this year to continue the growth of the clubhouse, and I think we're on the right track with the clubhouse.
John?
Hey, Matt, you had talked a little bit about when you combine the facilities on kind of getting some synergies out of some of the suppliers and stuff. Can you just kind of remind us about kind of what you were doing, like taking top moving items and kind of renegotiate them? Is that kind of how you get to that?
Yes, and I'll be having those meetings with our vendors at the end of this month to see where we ended up for last year. I know what we purchased. We purchased more than I had to purchase to get the rebates that we get back. So I already have an idea that we will get substantial money back starting in March for all of our rebate programs. Basically, what I do is with all of our units, I go to the suppliers and I say, I want this to-go box, I want this napkin, I want this sugar packet. And we use those at every single location. So some vendors will give us a 2% rebate. Some vendors give us a 3%. Our largest vendor gives us a 5% rebate. Those monies all come back to each individual unit. So if I purchase $1 million from Cisco and 200,000 was purchased from the beach clubs per se, then the beach club would get the percentage of that rebate of that amount. So if it was 20% of our total purchases, then the rebate check, the beach club gets the 20%. The yacht club may get 40%. based off of the volume. It's something we do every year. We started doing it a couple of years ago, and it basically keeps our vendors honest. It keeps our costs low, and it's nice to get a rebate back in February and March when you're not making any money. It really kind of helps us out get through the off season. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did, and one more, Matt, on the, you seem to have a pretty good core group of folks I've noticed at the various venues. So, you know, whether it's a beach club or yacht club or the golf club, you know, a really good, consistent group of, I guess most of them are on your leadership team, but is that you feel good about that going forward as far as continuing to keep
You're breaking up on me, John. I can't hear you at
That's
all.
part of your leaders. Because you, I was talking about it appears that you have a pretty good core group of folks that kind of stay with you at the various venues. Is that, do you see any challenges going forward? Or, I mean, obviously they feel good enough about, you know, what they do.
I've been very lucky in
Some
my
of them have been there
career
for quite a
that
few years.
the majority of our upper leadership, management, whatever you want to call it, continue to stay with me. One, because they have growth. If they get bored at a certain location, we can move them to another location. It gives them peace of mind that we are an employee-driven company, and we would not be successful if it wasn't for each and every single one of our employees. So my philosophy has always been, if you treat people like they make a difference, they will make a difference. So that's how I try to treat my staff, my team, my managers, and then they're supposed to treat everybody else that way. And one thing it's allowed me to do is to keep my core management group. Some of my managers have been with me for 20 years. So I don't see very many changes with that. You know, every year we hire a new one or a different one. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But 90% of our core is here year after year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's go ahead and go with the yacht club. That's 20.
Again, we lowered some costs because we're seeing some cost savings this year. I discussed that with BNF. We found a way to lower labor costs a little bit compared to years past, even though we're paying a higher wage. Now minimum wage is $15 an hour, but we've got it dialed into where we can get more done with less people. We've consistently dropped our food costs, our liquor costs, and our beer costs. And that's because of best practices. That's because of brokering our rebate deals, brokering our bulk buying, and really staying on top of numbers. And we're seeing benefits to that this year. We did increase net profit a little bit. Again, I'm 95% certain that I can hit or surpass all of these numbers, and that's why these are the numbers that I turned in. Again, you know, if it rains on a Saturday of July 4th, we stood outside, you know, that costs us $30,000 to $40,000 in one day. So when we take a look at everything, we know we're going to get maybe 70% of good weather days. We hope they don't come on the big weekends. If I could, you know, cut a deal with God, I would ask him just to have rain on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and never have rain the rest of the week. But you know, I pray to him about a lot of stuff, and he, you know, he's got his own plan, and that's the way it is, and we just work with it. But I will tell you this, that we can do numbers every single year, every single budget, and we will continue to do that. And you know, with this year being an election year, being the economy is tough right now, and anybody that goes to the grocery store knows that. You know, anybody that lives on a fixed income knows that people are spending a little bit less money. We're seeing that downward turn in Ocean City, kind of like what we saw in 2008. And I've preached this, you know, this business it's a roller coaster. It's not always, you're not always on the incline. You have your dips and you have your valleys and you have your peaks, and you have to just circumvent that and go through it. And I would much rather give a conservative set of numbers, knowing the 95% chance of hitting them, or throwing a pipe dream out there and not being able to hold my end of the bargain up. So that's why the numbers are a little bit conservative. We did come off of COVID was bad, but then it was also good, because after COVID was over, or the lockdowns and things like that were over, you know, we had an influx of banquets and weddings that had gotten postponed. So we saw some of our best wedding years to date the past couple of years. However, again, like I told people, 20 weddings on the book by January 1st. We have 19 on the book by January 1st this year. We have what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. The inquiries are coming in. I think we're going to be just fine.
Hey, Matt.
These are the numbers that I feel very comfortable.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, time out. Can you come on in here? We're having trouble listening to you over there. Can you come on in to this room over here?
Horribly.
Next room down.
Yeah, next room down.
I don't, the budget needs a Wi-Fi antenna. Why is the Wi-Fi?
I have issues. If I'm in the back of my house, I don't get phone calls. My streaming, everything is terrible. Where my office says, thank goodness, it works.
It's like that commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I was having trouble hearing the guys too.
Like my mom, I
Already part my ears off.
It's like calling me on the house phone.
All right, just so we can go and get Matt going on this. I don't say start over, but we were having a lot of problems listening to you as far as talking about the proposed or the downward trend that you saw, or that you're looking at for all.
Like I say, I've been doing this business for 35 years now. You know, in this town, went to Salisbury, decided I didn't want a career in politics.
Good for you.
And then I come to Ocean Ponds.
Welcome.
What was I thinking? But it's a roller coaster. This town has always been a roller coaster. We've had feasting years, we've had famine years. And the operators that continue to be successful are the ones that are cautious, conservative, and realize that it is a roller coaster. And we've had some years that were up here. We've had some years that are down here. We try to make sure that we come in the middle. And that's what my numbers reflect. I always want to make sure I'm coming in the middle. I always want to say, worst case scenario, you guys can 95% guarantee that in the back. And that's why we come up with those numbers. I've done this too long to see that and people don't prepare for lean times. I think this is setting up to be one of those years. And I'm not saying it's not going to be packed and we're not going to have the big concerts and all that, you know, but there are a group of people that are watching their spending very, very carefully right now. And if that means they go out to dinner one or twice less times a year or a month, it's all snowball effect. I hope that's not the case. I want it to be everybody's making money. I want everybody to be successful. You know, I want everybody to be happy and enjoy things. But realistically, we have to prepare for that roller coaster. And that's what I always try to do with our numbers every year. I try to give you what I know for a certainty that we are going to hit.
So from what I'm gathering, and of course what I'm hearing from you, is that with your numbers being as conservative they are, that you see that projection, you see that trending on the downward side right now.
Yeah, we just came off a holiday season in Ocean City where everybody was a little down. Okay. Everybody, everywhere. And I can say that because I have two businesses that I operate in Ocean City.
Sure. I
have a wealth of knowledge of friends who are in the same business that we came up in the business together. Bucksy,
sure,
John Fager, and Leighton Moore, and all, you know, one of the reasons why Layton's putting in a wedding venue is because he's seen the downward turn also. That's right. So everybody's trying to think of what you can do to keep those numbers up where you're going. So that's what we're seeing. I hope it's not like 2008, because those were a couple rough years. I wasn't in the Pines then, but you know, those were some tough years, and we're seeing the same things going on. Same thing with pricing. I've said in BNF committee, you know, one of the things that helped us out last year is that with all the food prices going up, poultry went down. So when we see things like that, we cater our menus to that. You know, we see a certain product is going to go through the roof, you take that off your menu for the summer. That's why we change our menus 2 and 3 times a year, so we can operate with the, you know, the flow of the supply chain. You know, in 2008, I think oil went up. I'm talking about cooking oil went up 3 times the amount. Well, at Hooters, you know how much oil they go through? You know, and it raised our food costs by 4 points. You know, there was nothing we can do about it. It wasn't that we weren't receiving it well, we weren't ordering well, we didn't have a theft problem, we didn't have any of this. It just, it ballooned up. I hope that's not the case this year. You know, the other thing is I explained too, like with labor, now, minimum wage is $15 an hour. Everybody says, oh, well, you know, you were paying mostly everybody over $15 an hour. Of course we were. But what happens is a snowball effect. Now you have somebody that you're hiring, brand new, young kid, you're paying them $15. The guy you were paying 17 now goes, whoa, what about me? Where's mine? Everybody wants a bump up, you know? So these are all the factors that are, you know, look, I started working on these numbers in October, and there were certain things that weren't going on, so when you start working on it in October and you're preparing for the next summer, that's another reason why you want to be real conservative. We're working on these numbers in October, and they don't really start till May. So we have to forecast what's going to happen and what's going on. And I'd rather just give you guys numbers that I know 95% without certainty we're going to hit. But my goal is always to exceed them and to go past them.
I'd rather have, on something. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I think when I first looked at it, I said, oh, well, that seems a little over conservative. But I'm also a person who feels like you do, better to be conservative than overly optimistic, because then it creates.
I've just done this too long.
Yeah.
And, you know, early in my career, it's like, you know, you prepare. I went to work for a company called United Restaurant Group after I sold my first bar when I was 26. And I got into the corporate world, and of course we had budgets and, you know, adhered to. And, you know, so one of the restaurants that I was in charge of, the State Highway Administration decided they were going to put in this off ramp and this new on ramp. And they shut the highway down for 6 months. So everybody that was coming to this location had to go up, make a U-turn and come back. I don't know what the number was, but I can tell you we were down 37% during those 6 months, because some people just say, I'm not making that U-turn. I'm not, you know, so, you know, budgets are great, numbers are great. And I think when it comes down to costs and expenses and things like that, you really want to adhere to it. But sometimes you can't control how much is going to come into that door.
Well, I see
You
here.
can only control how much you're spending.
It's been trending down slightly. And so it is better to be much more conservative, because the way the economy is right now, people might be going out, but instead of having.
There's nobody I know in this business.
They're having to.
There's nobody I know in this business that's been doing it a while, that's had the same location, that is saying we were up last year. No one.
I'm seeing in your food and your beverage, it is.
You were down in gross, but right now, year to date, we're up in net. That's my job, is to make sure that even if the gross is down, I can for the most part, control the net. Yes, sir.
Just because I don't know what this is, so I'm gonna ask. Banquet commissions, that's item 76985.
In the contract that Ocean Pines wrote for me, we get a commission off of each banquet that we book.
Oh, okay.
Did you have a question?
No, I just had basically a comment. I'd rather have realistic numbers that we can bank on and pie in the sky that we don't hit.
Absolutely.
Now, so if we have, numbers that, our professional restaurant company says that we can hit, I gotta take the word of our professional restaurant company, because it's apparent we can't run restaurants. We try. That's why he's here.
Right. If I could do it all over again, I would listen to my parents and
Don't listen to your parents.
Oh, your mother, I remember your speech from that day. Your mother wanted you to do this. 'Cause
Yeah.
You lived in the farm. She wanted a better restaurant.
Any other questions, John?
So Matt, I think we talked a little, or I heard a little bit last week when I was listening with the B&F committee, on the expansion of Tiki Bar. Do you feel that that's, I think two things, obviously, we're looking for that is improved, customer service, and then, some type of sales lift over time, or.
we're trying to, you guys have been there. Everybody in this room has been there when it's packed. It's a small tiki bar for that many people out there. And that's why we do that satellite bar, but you really can't do as much out there. It's
Like a beer.
just trying to take some heat off of it. But the problem we're seeing is we get that long line, people get upset because they can't get their drink right away. So when it was approached to me about how can we do more? How can we do more? I said, well, we can't do more with what I have here. Now, I think looking at everything, I think it's the best investment to add the most amount of dollars to the bottom line at the end of the day. One, you make way more money off of liquor and beer, wine, and alcohol than you do food. All right. So if we can turn those sales quicker, if we can get the guests served quicker, one, and somebody brought it up in the B&F community, it might have been you, guest satisfaction increases sales. The happier they are, the faster they get their drink. That's done right. The happier people are, the more they're going to spend, the more they're going to come back. And that's what we're looking to do. It's not like we're looking to attract any new people, because I don't know, on a Friday, Saturday night, I don't know how many more people we can fit in there, but we can service the people better. And I would think within 2 to 3 years that expansion would pay for itself.
Gotcha.
Any
other questions for Matt this time? I think we're good, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Matt.
it.
Thank you, guys. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate all your support, and
Awesome.
we're just gonna keep trucking along.
Thanks again.
No, thank you. Many of us remember the old days.
Hold on a second.
Just a question. As far as, music, that's something you guys probably do like last year and this year, as far as setting up for the season, as far as,
Oh, every band's already booked for the year,
Oh,
but usually by September, it's a long process. And everybody's jockeying for position.
yeah, it seems like when we're not on it, we're not on it here.
Right, in the summertime, we are working on the next year band schedule, 12 months out, but you have to. And I think one of the things we did when we came into Ocean Pines that made it successful is the quality of entertainment and how much we do it and how we actually make it happen, and I think that has really increased, the dollars for Ocean Pines.
Well, that's
So-
in the food. And
Yeah.
You definitely serve
But,
much better product.
When those days are just, and that's what I say to you, if it rains on one of those days, you can't make that up.
No, it's just a lost day.
Yeah. So.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
This is the coconut.
So we're gonna go
Haven't
take
gone
a,
anywhere yet.
we're gonna take a half
remodel
hour break.
done and installed. We had to put a whole new hood system, and it was 40 years old. So, and they were taking part of it down, the other part fell the other day, so I haven't had a break yet. I'll get there.
I hope you get one soon.
Yeah.
See you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
So we're gonna go take a half hour break. We're gonna go have lunch and then we'll come back at 1 o'clock. All right, we're gonna go get started.
Oh, he keeps it there.
John, you ready?
I'm ready. You want fire department?
Yeah, everybody ready? We're gonna go ahead and do fire department. So what tab are we on today?
10.
10?
But that said, obviously, the fire department's not here, but they have presented. Steve will go through the numbers with you. We will answer any questions that we've received answers already from the fire department if you need be.
Okay,
I got Steve.
about the visual. Okay, I think my fire department was here for budget and finance. They went through their sheet, which just breaks out the operating expenditures. I'm just gonna refer you to the first sheet that I included in the binders, which breaks it down in our format a little bit, by our account types, etc. You can see for the 25 budget, their request is relatively, in total, is relatively consistent with the 24 budget. 1.011 million is the request for 25. Rounding 1.009 million is 24. The difference is the operating funding is coming down, significantly driven by basically more incoming revenues that are factored in. That's about $40,000 coming down, while the apparatus capital reserve contribution that we're putting in is actually going up 40,000. So net, that's where it offsets. You know, I'm not the expert in terms of their different expense categories. Of course, I have the compensation breakdown below. So their total expenses are 2.436. Last year was 2.285 million. That's probably the key numbers.
One thing I noticed when the fire department did their presentation was, so if the building is in such disrepair and needs to be replaced, why would they drop their maintenance 50,000 grand? That just doesn't make sense to me. I guess they have a reason, but
15.
let's see.
Replacements up, but if you look at
Repairs and maintenance, they dropped
so we
it
make
50
going
to
from
35.
80 to 30 or 50 to 35. Yeah.
They gave an answer. I'm trying to think what they said.
Just pointing that out.
Somewhere else.
I mean, the apparatus maintenance is going on.
I
mean, I think they only spent 25,000 in 23. So I think the budget was just a little
$3,000. 3,300.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back and question that, I guess. $15,000 down, it's a good point.
Right.
Good point.
So Monica, I don't know if you can hear Steve, we will follow up with Steve will follow up with an email question to them on that.
Okay, thank you.
And also that 7,300, the reconciliation discrepancy, not understanding that one.
Yeah, so that is just the $105. That's me. I probably shouldn't have labeled it reconciliation discrepancies.
Yeah, one of them.
Basically tying out prior year numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
$105.
One thing that I guess is concerning, especially since, you know, do the repairs and, you know, you're gonna continue to pay that. I don't see anything for fundraising.
So, for fundraising, John, Steve, fundraising.
3,200.
32.
Zero.
32. No, there's nothing but.
There's nothing there.
No.
Nothing in the 85-25. Playing 64,000, 65,000 and.
Oh, I see. Well, they're saying the
Actual
actual.
for year to date.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
they didn't budget anything for this year.
Nothing for this. year.
Nothing for
But
fundraising.
that's on the revenue side. So.
So
they
a
don't
couple
have any-
things. Can you all hear us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
So
they're
the
not even
fundraising, the
giving.
question was on the fundraising. The fundraising does not go to their operational number. That goes right to their funds or restricted funds. Do you know the specific name of it?
No, the revenue comes in that way that you're looking at the special events where we have the $10,000. I think they do burden $10,000 in the operating account. Actually, you can see though that they have about $40,000 in 23, but we did not have anything built into the operating budget, never have historically. Basically, the only reason they're going in there is because I compared the audit reports, and that's where I'm pulling it off of, from the restricted audit report. I think they just basically are making the assumption that the revenues expenses offset, is why they put 0 in there.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve, just on your submission, as opposed to the fire department, am I correct that the expense numbers that you have listed here are basically, particularly for 23, 24, and 24, 25, the same as what's in the fire department submission? I mean, rather than go line by line, I just.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that helps.
You just put it to the format.
Yeah,
Right.
this sheet right here is their format, so I just dropped
Right,
it in. Yeah.
Right, I'm with you. Okay, now, couple of other questions. My recollection is last year in our budget book, we had a schedule of equipment depreciation. You know, broken down by year, how many more useful years there were, that sort of thing. We didn't get that this year. Is that something that's provided by the fire department?
Yeah, we'll send it to you. We'll send it to the board.
Okay, thank you. And then, am I correct in reading this? And I'm looking at the fire department submission. That what they basically mark as the request for OPA is totaled at 987,345.
Yes.
Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
That's the total? Okay.
Yes.
And so that's an increase of actually less than $3,000.
Correct.
Okay. Now, one other question, well, get me to another question, but the apparatus replacement line using, again, their submission is at 241,676. And that is the total being requested from OPA as well. Now, does that reflect all of the apparatus replacement? Or is that just our share of the apparatus replacement?
That's just
unclear on
our
that.
share, right? That's just our share. They would be putting their share in also, that's separate, but that's just our share, correct?
Separate and distinct, okay. Which
Yes.
leads me to the next question, which is where, or is this coming next year, is the line item for the infamous pumper truck?
So you got the schedule that shows all that.
So I guess in hearing the fire department, I think they said that pumper truck is not gonna happen for another 2
Yeah,
fiscal years.
but again, when's the 2 years, you know? So what we heard them say, both Stephen and myself, in the last time, they said 2 years. So I'm counting this budget that we're putting through, and then the next budget, that shouldn't be in there for the actual payment.
Well, my recollection was last year, they had exhausted the 20-year life. Because I remember talking to you about it, John, because I was curious as to where the money was coming from.
Okay, so what they explained in the last meeting, and I gotta make sure I get this thing right, they explained it though. They're kind of shifting the number 2 truck to the number 1 truck. And I think that's if you go back to the B&F video, they presented that. They kind of shifted the trucks.
Must have missed that. All right.
So and then it falls under that 20 years, but it's 2 years. I'm just recollecting what they said at the B&F meeting. We have the schedule going out to show, which Steve will send you, all of you, where the funds are and where we would be once we pay, or they and us, we pay for this truck. And it'll give you the balances over the next 5 years.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, and I guess this is more for reading it I think in the press more than anything else. The original the expense 20 years ago was someplace total in the neighborhood of $300,000, if I remember correctly.
Right, now,
Expense-
what,
I'm
869?
sorry?
Right, and now it's 869, give or take.
Right. And are we on the hook for all of that or half of that? Or something?
The MOU, the kind is half. So once you get this, once Steve sends you the schedule, you'll see by year and where they're estimating their actual payments are for these trucks, you'll see the balance. What goes into that fund for the replacement is for this budget that's coming up, you're right, it's the 241,676. That's our piece. They are supposed to put their piece in.
Right, I get that. But the
So it should
241.
be almost 500,000 in theory.
The 241,676 in this year's budget would all be spent
No,
this
When you
year.
say this year, if you're talking the actual year I'm in or the year that I'm doing this budget for.
24, 25. I'm looking at
Okay,
the column.
right, yes, yes, for 24, 25, you're right, 241, yes.
Okay, that amount is going to be spent all in that fiscal year, correct? At 241?
No, I think it's the year after. That money will be pooled with the other balance that's in there. And then they'll use that balance to pay for the truck. You know, whether it's LIFO, FIFO, and how you put the money in there, I think there will be a balance.
Yeah, there's about $1 million in there right now.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
basically, we're just replenishing it and
Right.
putting more in. So I think the expense is gonna hit in 26 is what they're saying based on when we receive it, right, John?
Right.
Okay,
So there's $1 million in there. That's why I wish you had the schedule. There's $1 million in there. And then this will be another increment to it that'll be used for that pumper and then the next pumper as we keep adding to it each year. So I'm trying to picture the schedule that we did. There should be enough money in there 2 years from now to pay for that. And wait, let me just finish because I think you all.
Go ahead.
But then we're also looking at the next at least 4 or 5 years to see what the balance is based upon their projections. So you're going to get all that to see where we're at.
I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Okay.
The 241,676 in effect goes into some sort of reserve account.
Yes.
It's not going to be all spent during the fiscal year 24, 25.
No. Correct.
Okay.
It's gonna, the balance in there now is $1 million, right? So there's a balance in that fund. So just look at it, let's say you just had a bank account, right?
Yeah.
We got $1 million in, now you're gonna add the 241 to it. So you have $1,241,000. They're gonna put their piece in there, let's say it's 241. So rounded for me, it's $1,500,000 at the end of this proposed budget. And then the year after that, they're gonna pay, I believe it's 869, which would be a minus against that balance, but we would still need that balance for the next set of equipment that they buy.
Right.
Which won't be on that schedule.
So there really is no reason why they should purchase the pumper truck earlier if they had the money there. In other words, my concern is if you wait 2 years to buy the pumper truck, you're going to pay 2 years on inflation, if nothing else.
So,
well, hold on.
I believe from what they said, and again, I'm trying to quote what they said, they already locked in that number. They just have to wait 2 years for it to be built.
But the price is set.
The price is set, to use your words.
Okay,
that's what we believe.
That's what I.
So this is all in the MOU, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The MOU is we go ahead.
It's in the MOU, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have.
Right.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at. I was unclear as to whether they had, or the truck was, the price was set. Okay. Okay, I'm good, thank you.
John.
One quick question. John, I think I heard the chief say last week that they were fully staffed. Is that, did we hear that? There's.
Full-time. So the full-time staff.
More people.
Yes, that's what I believe I heard also. Now, some of the.
Volunteers. Is
Can you hear
different.
me? So
Yes.
the full-time, what I heard, what we remembered, Steve's nodding to me, the full-time, he said, yes, sometime like the part-timers and the other people or the volunteers, maybe they needed a little bit there.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
That's
thank
what we
you.
remember.
I just-
It was- that he was saying was an alarm. From what we remember. Okay?
Any other questions on the fire department?
You know, just some key numbers.
Go ahead.
You good?
Go ahead.
So the
Go ahead.
apparatus, you know, you can see last year was what, we rounded 195,000 last, look, I use round numbers, so I don't know. You got the 241 this year. A year ago was 195. The year before that, Steve, what was it, 150?
Yes.
So you can see in 2 years, we've gone from 150 to almost 250.
175, actually.
It was 175, then the year before that was 150. So Steve went back and checked, it was 175 before the 195, but before that, I believe it was 150. So you can see how much it's gone up over the last 3 years. So what we got?
Anything else on fire department? I think we're good on that. John, next up, we got replacement, new capital reserves, both Steve and also Linda is still there, or this.
Yeah, Linda has, Steve and I will do it. Linda is, whatever. Capital is 23.
It's whatever.
Well, we're doing 23, so.
Whatever.
Okay, so, you know, you have it all in front of you. Steve will go through each one for you, but let me just highlight. If you go down about 3/4 of the page, you have the number, the golf course irrigation, phase 1. When we prepared this, when we were working on this capital over the last several years that I've been in here, we started off, when I first came, the estimate was around 6. It went to 850. When we got the final bids, which we got board approved, it came to 931 or 934, Rick. The point I'm making is that that's what it came out to. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we said, oh, you know, let's cut off a number here. So there was nothing like that. And hopefully you all understand my point on that.
Yeah.
And this was part of the plan that, and you know, I went out to an outside consultant. It was like 20-something thousand. In fact, Steve just got one of the bills to do this whole game plan for us. So that's where this all came from. Like I said this morning, and there should be minimal disruption to that course if somebody's telling the board that or telling anybody. And it's between November and March. So that's the big one. It is around $1.5 million is the total capital that we're requesting. Nothing else here really jumps up. The pool furniture, that's standard every year. You know, if I could go back, way back, you know, I still remember Pete when he was the treasurer saying the biggest part on the capital is replacing all this furniture and everything. We always think it's buildings or whatever, but, you know, a lot of the capital goes to replacing furniture and fixtures. And I think I'm going to look at Steve here and see if he gives me the, yeah, Steve's confirming that. The rest is basically, you know, typical replacement for aquatics. The driving range renovation is to 20,000. You heard that this morning. Actually, somebody asked that question from the board, right? Or somebody. I think it was Steve. So the estimate is $20,000. What we're looking at doing at that building in the back, if you're familiar with the golf course, is there's an office there for the outside contractor, the assistant pro who does all the lessons, building him a room, giving him more room. There is an office back there, so there's storage, building enclosure so that he can do lessons in the winter. And Beckelman was looking for some square footage for himself out there, which I believe he's going to be looking to do with lessons. So a lot of that we're going to do with our public works team. There is an outside contractor. Again, I call part of the high-rated preferred vendor who does a lot of concrete work for us. Who's been vetted, his prices, he's been, and he does a very good job. We are looking to bring him in. Heat pump, community center, 58,000. They're all needed for, they're up for replacement, and pretty much everything else on here. Steve, want to add anything or is that pretty much it?
No, I mean, we talked about the police vehicles. We do have 2 vehicles on there, 55,000 each, so that's in the budget for this year.
But they're replacement.
And their replacement, yeah. Yeah.
So just another thing on the golf, somebody will say, well, you're spending a lot of time fixing that irrigation system, which is a correct statement. But now they'll be able to do other work. Like for instance, here, he's looking at bunkers renovation. Now, of course, we have that. But if you're familiar with the course now, he's going to be able to spread his team out more into the rough and do that final phase 5 from our original plan when we attacked that whole golf course 4 or 5 years ago. Question?
Sorry, Lane.
I know on the fencing between the pickleball courts, is that the one that you now say is going to be about 22? I think we have it listed here as 10.
It's September. Yeah, Lane, look, that might be on me or us. So the 20, let's pull back. The one that's on here, what is it, 10,000 or is it?
Yeah, 10,000.
10,000. So what happened, that came out of the advisory committees. And there are fences now, but they want a better fence. And then use the word safety. Now, those have been working. I haven't heard of any problems, but from a safety standpoint. So these are fences, Lane, in between the pickleball courts, because one pickleball court backs up.
It has nothing to do with it.
It has nothing, right. So what he was talking about this morning, what has been in the mantra since 5 months ago about this fence, which we did put in, is that, and look, I'm not disagreeing on it, we need a fence because they are being told, and he's jumping up and down, they're not paying. We did put a fence, we put a fence in there that he agreed. We increased it with some green fencing. If you go down there, you can see we are using it now for all the playgrounds so that the children can't go in between the bars of a ranch fence. So I told Public Works to do that. It wasn't a lot of money. So as we did it and finished it, he was texting me in a board meeting that they were scaling it. So now there is a fence he wants. He's telling me that's similar to the fence that's down at the golf course. That's the one where he's saying it's 22,000. I had Eddie this morning. Eddie's reaching out to a fence company so I can get the exact price on what it is. So stay tuned on that. But it's the outside perimeter fence when you go down there that he's talking about.
All right, I have one other question, okay, on the splash pad. I guess, as I recall from the last meeting, that this is an early replacement, that this piece of equipment, the rubber or whatever on it wasn't holding up like it was supposed to. It looks like a pretty pricey item, and I guess I would have to question the value of having the splash pad, because I think before there used to be a little kiddie pool or something similar to what we have at the one other, what is, Mumford's. What's the benefit of having that splash pad versus a kiddie pool if the maintenance on this thing may continue to be a pretty expensive product?
So Michelle's not here, but 2 parts to it. One thing I can tell you is I went down there with Nobi and Eddie a while ago. It is in bad shape. But your question is about why even have it? No, we weren't looking to decrease, but I can certainly take that as advisement or as a task, and we can look into it.
I will tell you, it's heavily used, that splash pad.
Fountain.
Yeah, like the large flowers or
Kids run.
watching, yeah. It's heavy.
It's a lot of wear and tear.
It's utilized.
Yeah, it just seems like a pretty hefty item.
I think the pool was expensive.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, how long did this thing last? I thought, was it around 4 years or something before it needed these kind of repairs? And it was scheduled for every 10 years or something? I'm sure.
So Elaine, they're texting us with the information. It's been there about 5 years. I can tell you the cost might even be higher. So if there is a time that we want to get out of the business of this whatever, or not have this as a, now is the time to look at it.
Maybe that's something the aquatics committee maybe.
They let them recommend it.
Yeah.
Do we need more defense for another pool that we know?
Or maybe some other kind of thing for kids. I mean, it just seems very expensive to have to replace this.
Every 5 years.
Yeah, or it's like 10 grand probably every year if. That's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it seems.
Oh.
I don't know, maybe the aquatics folks couldn't think of it. If it's not important, keep it, but it just seems to me, it's something that just needs to be looked into. I say that every time I go under that.
Safety first.
Yes, I mean, I think it's just something worth looking at to determine before we start shelling out 40 grand.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, you can ask them.
Yeah, just trying to check the numbers.
Yeah, just the handicap chair that's listed for 6,000. When the sheet doesn't say which pool it's gonna go to, is that there's one for each pool, or I assume there has to be one for each pool, but the question is, 6,000 for all 4 of our pools, or only one of our pools?
Yeah, from what I remember, it's been a while, that every year we do buy one. I did have a situation, I'll put it on, we had a situation this past summer where one of them got stuck.
Right.
We replace each one, or we try to have one in case something happens, so believe me, this is, 6,000 is not the cost of replacing all pools. I mean, I'm sure she's texting us with the info now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just didn't say, so I didn't know. Okay,
For one.
thanks.
Right?
I think, did somebody ask a question about a kiddie pool, baby pool?
Yeah.
Okay, the cost would be over 100K is what I'm being told. But the splash pad
Are
is.
there types of sprinkling things where they're not, have that rubberized bottom that.
Get a hose in the backyard.
I mean, I know,
Old
timers.
Yeah, in the backyard.
The guys like this.
I think that's something that we should let aquatics come up with.
Yeah, maybe aquatics.
Aquatics came up with the idea of replacing the splash pad because it's deteriorating.
Right.
Maybe they ought to just look to.
It would increase our insurance, that's another pool and with another lifeguard.
How do we get that?
But you gotta remember, they've changed, what the surface can be that the kids run on. So it's a safety issue, but rubber, it's not cement, it's not gravel, it's not, so.
More safety.
Yeah, so we almost.
gotta have that safety
required to do something. with
Rubber too.
Yeah.
We should like to look at and see if maybe there's some
Take
other
a look at it.
options. That would be great for
Yeah.
the kiddos. But you're not, that's not costing them
The fun pools.
$10,000 a year.
Elaine wants you to put a sprinkler system in there, a sprinkler hose. That's
The
all
old-
she wants.
the old
Yeah,
sprinkler.
that's all she wants.
$12.
That's what we have.
That's it.
Yes.
$12, I have one.
It's a nickel a load.
Your front
I
yard.
mean, you're all right, you have to do something, either we take it out, we can't leave it the way it is.
Right, right.
We agree.
Any other questions on we're on the space? Okay. So next up, let's pretty much finishes up what we're doing as far as for the budget.
Action items.
So for our action items. On here is, the board is gonna reconvene at some point in time, before we go ahead and prove this. We're gonna work through some of the items that were of question. And with that, John, we'll gather all those, things that we've come up with, that we feel that may need or possibly more explanation, or offer our recommendations for change or not change. And then we will go ahead and get that back to you and your team.
Okay.
Before, but that'll be before the February, which we plan on February board meeting to vote to approve the budget at that time.
Okay,
Okay.
understand. Yep, we do have to schedule a town hall meeting. I think Linda's still on, so we have a little
Yeah.
more time, Linda. with the February, but understand and appreciate everything today.
Great, thanks. All right.
You guys make it easy.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna do a,
Thank you, team.
hold on, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All abstentions? Meeting is over.